Chapter 419. The Four Seas Medicine Manor was the first academy to know about this news, and the students were all extremely excited. However, Su Hong's gaze fell on Li Zongjio. The purpose of this trip was to find a young expert who could be sent out to compete with the Haika dynasty. This was a battle between dynasties and empires. Although both sides were currently in a friendly relationship, no one wished to be weaker than the other. They had to have the upper hand. Only then could they ensure their position. It was impossible to know just how deep the foundations of the two large empires were until the very end. However, it was extremely easy to tell from this fight on the surface. They could not be underestimated at any time. Since it was a competition between alchemists, it naturally fell on the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Now the three great medicine manors had chosen an incredible genius. With Li Zongjio's strength, it would not be a problem to intimidate the Haika dynasty. Now Li Zongjio would definitely be put in an important position by the Haika dynasty. As for the 3,000 mu of land, Li Zongjio also said that he could use this land within the boundaries of the Wuxia city as the foundation of the Li family. He did not even need to go back personally. Such news from the imperial court only needed a letter to let the Wuxia city lord know. At the same time, all kinds of news about Li Zongjio would fly back to the Wuxia city, as if they had grown wings. Even the city lord of the Sunset City had to address Li Zongjio as lord after seeing him. Because of Li Zongjio's identity, the entire Li family status also rose. After the competition ended, the trip to the Four Seas Medicine Manor did not end there. Instead, they used this opportunity to hold a banquet. As expected of someone who was born in the business world, he had put in a lot of effort just to organize the banquet tonight. Originally, Su Hong wanted to politely decline. As a member of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, if he were to attend such a banquet, it would be hard to avoid gossip. However, when he heard that there was a 3,000-year-old wine provided by the four great families at the banquet, he immediately changed his mind. Su Hong could no longer walk. This wine banquet could be considered open. Only a small number of people were invited, including the teachers of the Four Seas Medicine Manor, the teachers and students of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, and the Purple Pill Academy. However, the people from the Purple Pill Institute had yet to arrive. Meng Yu and Nie Tianhong seemed to have been sent away to recuperate. However, no one knew what was going on behind the scenes. At the banquet, as the winners, Li Zongjio and the others naturally received a warm reception. Many people came up to toast them, and some young and beautiful girls could even be seen throwing flirtatious glances at Li Zongjio. Pay attention to the atmosphere, Yang Xuelin said indifferently. This made the drunk Lan Kuan a little excited. He even wanted to get drunk. Lan Kuan, who was lying among the flowers, immediately sat back down obediently. He sat in his original position and behaved himself. It's fine. It's fine. It's good for young people to be unbridled. Sun Yu waved his hand, indicating that it didn't matter. Young people naturally had desires. If they reached a state where they had no desires, wouldn't it be meaningless to live? Teacher Sun Yu, how can this be? As a disciple of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, we must be humble and low-key. We must not be arrogant when we win, and we must not be discouraged when we lose. Yang Xuelin was suddenly angry. Not only did he not dissuade Kuan Erasure, but he also indulged him. Wasn't he helping the tyrant and not respecting himself as an elder? Teacher Sun, if you have something to say, just say it. Can you not look at me like that? I feel a little desolate. Seeing that Sun Yu's gaze was so direct, Kuan Erasure also felt a little nervous. What exactly is this teacher trying to do? Could it be that he has taken a fancy to me and wants to do something improper? Kuan Erasure immediately put on a righteous expression. He was an upright person and was full of righteousness. He would never do such a thing and would never compromise. Teacher Sun is obsessed with studying ancient and modern medicine books. The book of all creation in your hand is what Teacher Sun longed for, but was unable to obtain. Mu Qingyan said when he saw this. After all, Sun Yu was already so old, and it was naturally inappropriate for him to speak. Thus, Mu Qingyan spoke on his behalf. This book is nothing. If teacher likes it, you can take it and read it for 2 days. It's only for 2 days. After Kun Erishur heard this, he directly took out the Book of All Creation and handed it over to Sun Yu. Hey, this is my little darling. You must be careful. When he saw the Book of All Creation, Sun Yu immediately threw away the wine cup in his hand and hurriedly took the Book of All Creation. Good. Since you lent this book to me, this old man owes you a favor. In the future, you can stay by my side and be my apprentice. After Sun Yu took it, the expression on his face was completely different. The excitement on his face made it seem as though he was looking at a stunning beauty. Be an apprentice? Upon hearing Sun Yu's words, not to mention Kun Erishur himself, even Yang Xuelin and the others were a little surprised. They were naturally surprised because they thought that teacher Sun Yu was looking down on Kun Erishur. With Kun Arashi's talent, it would not be a problem for him to become the deputy dean's disciple. In fact, it even depended on whether Kun Erishur was willing or not. However, instructor Sun Yu had only accepted Lan Kun as an apprentice. Didn't this mean that Lan Kun's qualifications were insufficient? Furthermore, instructor Sun Yu's tone made it sound like Lan Kun was the one who had profited more by letting him become an apprentice. However, no one dared to disrespect teacher Sun Yu. Only one person spoke very seriously, and that was Li Zongjio. It's your honor that teacher Sun Yu is willing to impart his knowledge to you. You must learn well from him, Li Zongjio said to Kun Erishur. After hearing Li Zongjio's words, Kun Erishur realized that teacher Sun Yu must have some special abilities. Perhaps he was a hidden expert. Otherwise, Li Zongjio would not have said that. Kun Erishur had high expectations, but Li Zongjio had even higher expectations. However, Kun Arashi's intuition told him that Li Zongjio's words could not be wrong. Sun Yu was already flipping through the Book of All Creation. He did not treat this place as a dining table at all. Instead, he treated it as his study table. Kun Erishur and the others were sincerely impressed by Sun Yu's dedication to reading. Li Zongjio had his own reasons for saying that. Teacher Sun Yu was not very famous now. However, in the future, teacher Sun Yu's name would be changed to Sun Yu Zi. He had also made great contributions to the creation of new pill formulas. He had even entered the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor's Hall of Fame. The Heavenly Star Medicine Manor had specially set up a Hall of Fame. Only those who had made great contributions to the alchemy world were qualified to enter this Hall of Fame. Although Sun Yu's alchemy skills were ordinary, he had done a lot of research on the theory of alchemy. If he were to follow Sun Yu, with Kun Arashi's talent, it would be easy for him to achieve something as long as he practiced diligently. However, he was still a half-baked alchemist now. Many alchemists were full of explosive power in the early stage. Their cultivation level rose very quickly. However, due to their unstable foundation, it was like cultivating elemental energy. They would advance by leaps and bounds in the beginning. However, it was easy for them to get stuck later on. They were unable to make a breakthrough because their foundation was not well established. Currently, Kun Arashi's alchemy skills were a little weak compared to Meng Yu and Nye Tianhong. Mo Suli might even surpass Kun Erishur in the future. Therefore, it was necessary to send him to further his studies. While everyone in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor was eating and drinking, suddenly, a group of young people walked towards Li Zongjio's table. When Kun Erishur saw the group approaching, he immediately frowned and became alert. This was because the group was not just anyone. It was Zhao Jingxian and the others who lost the fight last night. Don't be nervous. I'm here to apologize. Last night, I failed to recognize Mount Tai and offended all of you. I'm here to apologize. As he spoke, Zhao Jingxian downed the wine in his cup in one gulp. At least you have some eyesight. Kun Erishur said without any trace of politeness. Zhao Jingxian nodded. As the young master of the Zhao family, Zhao Jingxian was naturally a second generation. However, he was not the kind of person who only knew how to commit crimes. With his ability and resources, he naturally knew that Li Zongjio and the others were not to be trifled with. Although he was beaten up last night, in Zhao Jingshuan's opinion, with the power behind these people, it would be very easy for them to kill him. They were people that he could not afford to offend. Therefore, when he found the opportunity today, He quickly came to apologize. "Oh right. These are the tickets for an auction that our Zhao family will be holding. VIP seats. Treated as compensation for everyone. You must accept it." Then, Zhao Jingxian took out 7 tickets. Tickets for the auction? In the royal city, it was very normal to hold auctions frequently. However, one must know that ordinary auctions would not be able to attract the interest of these people. If Zhao Jingxian casually took out a few tickets and acted as if he was going to settle this matter, then he was too brainless. It seemed that he saw that there was not much interest on the faces of these people. Zhao Jingxian also smiled slightly. "I will also reveal a little bit of information to you. In this auction, there will be an ancient tablet inscription. This tablet was obtained by a mysterious expert who visited Shui Yuan Mountain. Although it has not been translated, it has been confirmed that this tablet inscription is an item of the ancient elixir sect, Compassionate Travel Sect. Compassionate Travel Sect. Ancient tablet inscription." As soon as these words entered their ears, the few of them immediately became spirited. It was as if they had smoked marijuana. Compassionate Travel Sect was ranked as the #1 sect in the ancient times. According to legend, in the ancient times, the world had not been unified and the 3 great dynasties had not been born. After many accidents and changes, the 3 great dynasties were slowly born. Before the dynasties, there were countless powerful sects in the world. The elixirs of Compassionate Travel Sect were unparalleled in the world. Many of their elixir refining methods were obtained from the ancient tombs of some of the disciples of Compassionate Travel Sect. It could be seen that Compassionate Travel Sect was a great driving force for the current elixir refining world. Chapter 420. If he could get his hands on the Compassionate Travel Sect's ancient tablet inscription, he would have made a fortune if he could translate it into some kind of super alchemy mental cultivation method. Even if he couldn't own it because the competition was too strong and there was no way to buy it, being able to look at it from afar was already very good. As an alchemist, he naturally had no resistance in the face of these things. This is a good intention. We'll accept it first. Kuan Erishur waved his hand. Zhao Jingxian also cupped his hands and left, continuing to drink. Compassionate Travel Sect is the leader of alchemy among the ancient sections. It's naturally good for you to go and experience it. You can keep these tickets for yourselves. Yang Xuelin said. Even if they wanted to go, they had to buy the tickets personally. How could they accept these things? However, it was naturally a good thing to be able to resolve the grudges between Zhao Jingxian and the others. Otherwise, wouldn't it cause discord between the 2 great medicine manors? Then I'll help Kuan Erishur keep it first. The 2 extra tickets can be sold for a lot of money. Shueihua snatched the tickets from Lan Kuan's hand. The ticket price for the VIP seats of an auction was naturally not cheap. However, it wasn't expensive for them either. How could Shueihua not let go of such a small amount of money? How much can these tickets be sold for? Do you owe money to the bank? Kuan Erishur couldn't help but ask. Seeing Shueihu's appearance, he was even more shocked. Could it be that he was being tricked? If he was tricked, then the amount of money he owed would be a lot. It's none of your business. The 2 extra tickets went to Shueihu's pocket. Li Zongjiu didn't want to go at first. However, when he heard that it was an inscription from the Compassionate Travel Sect, he was also a little interested. It just so happened that he needed some herbs to refine a 6th grade pill. These herbs couldn't be found in ordinary places. He had to spend a lot of money to buy them. After the banquet ended, everyone from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor prepared to leave. However, at this moment, a skinny young man walked towards Li Zongjiu. Upon seeing Li Zongjiu, he cupped his hands together and greeted him. I am Shu. Greetings to young Master Li, Shu said respectfully to Li Zongjiu. Shu, aren't you from the Purple Pill Academy? What? You want to take revenge for those 2 fellows? Shueihua said when she saw Shu. He still had an impression of Shu. Although he was eliminated in the first round, he was facing the powerful Qi Yanran and Mo Suli. These 2 women with monstrous talents were naturally not easy to win. I wouldn't dare. I'm here because I have a favor to ask of you. Shu looked at Li Zongjiu and said, You want me to save you? Li Zongjiu asked. His eyes seemed to be electrifying as they pierced through Shu's mind. No matter the price, Shu is willing to pay. Please save my life, young Master Li. Shu said straightforwardly, without the slightest hesitation. If he hesitated, he would lose his life. In order to survive, Shu had exhausted all his strength. Such perseverance allowed him to live until now. However, as his strength increased, the symptoms in his body increased. Shu was also gradually approaching despair, because he did not have a better way to save himself. He only knew that if this continued, only death would await him. When he saw Li Zongjio using his own body to withstand the pill lightning, and even in the fire Yuan mark array, he did not reveal his Yuan Li. From the beginning to the end, he relied on his own physical strength. Because of this, Shu could see that Li Zongjio had a huge potential. Just this physical strength alone was not something that could be cultivated by ordinary Yuan Qi. Although he did not have full confidence, Shu would not let go of any chance as long as there was a glimmer of hope. Your dry pulse disease is not incurable. If you want me to treat you, the consultation fee is 10 billion purple yuan. You can go and prepare it yourself. Li Zongjio said. The first half of his words caused Shu's heart to surge with excitement. Yes, there was a way to cure it. This was the first time he heard that someone could cure the withered veins disease. Other than that, no one could cure it anywhere else. In fact, Shu shook his head repeatedly when he heard the name. He even thought that there was no need for Shu to waste his time. Since he had lived such an ignoble life, he might as well enjoy the remaining time. He had forced himself to live until now, but he had not enjoyed the joy of life. Living was also a pain. If there was no hope, life would be unbearably painful. However, 10 billion purple yuan? Was this really not a joke? It gave Shu hope, but in the same way, it made Shu lose his second-rate hope. 10 billion purple yuan. Even if he started robbing now, he might not be able to gather so much money. When Shueihua heard Li Zongjio's offer, she actually heaved a sigh of relief. It was really 10 billion purple yuan. As for the price given to him, it was indeed very cheap. 10 times the price. How much money was that? It was simply uncountable. Shu's face turned slightly gloomy, but he quickly pulled himself together again. His gaze towards Li Zongjio became even more resolute. I will definitely gather it. You only have 7 days. After 7 days, even I will not be able to reverse the situation. Li Zongjio said. 7 days' time. When Shu heard Li Zongjio's words, he was reassured in his heart. Shu knew that this was his limit. Given his current condition, he could last for 7 more days. After 7 days, the symptoms of the withered pulse disease would erupt on a large scale. In less than 3 months, Shu would lose his life. When he heard that Li Zongjio could accurately estimate the time, Shu was even more certain that if Li Zongjio was willing to help, he would definitely be able to cure his terminal illness. Goodbye. After Shu finished speaking, he turned around and hurriedly left. Obviously, he was going to find a way to gather 10 billion purple yuan. Boss, if he really gathered 10 billion purple yuan, can you really cure the dry pulse disease? Kuan Erasure looked at Li Zongjio in surprise. Could it be that Li Zongjio had already predicted Shu's death? The reason why he did this was to give Shu hope, so that he would not die so painfully. The dry pulse disease is nothing. After Li Zongjio said this, he took the lead and walked forward. He still had things to do tonight. Kuan Erasure and the others could only look at each other with frightened eyes. Just after Li Zongjio left, another white figure hurried over. It was Qi Yinran. As the genius girl of the Qi family, Qi Yinran had a halo around her since she was young. However, the poisonous blood bug had caused her a lot of confusion. Now, even her original spirit had been contaminated. Qi Yinran could only think of one person who could solve this problem, and that was Li Zongjio. However, Qi Yinran had never asked a man for help in her life. In the end, after much internal conflict, he showed up at the banquet to look for Li Zongjio. However, although Qi Yinran saw the people of Heavenly Star Medicine Mansion, she did not see Li Zongjio. Excuse me, is Li Zongjio here? Qi Yinran asked softly. To be able to let go of her previous hatred and come to find Li Zongjio, it could be seen how determined Qi Yinran was. One must know that that night, Li Zongjio had done many terrible things to her. How dare he treat her like that? However, her life was more important. At this time, there was no need to think too much. She could only wait until she became stronger in the future and get back at him. Kuan Erasure and Mu Qingyan both widened their eyes and looked at Qi Yinran, who was close to them. There was even a feeling of being unable to breathe. Looking at Qi Yinran at such a close distance, they could feel the indifferent and ethereal temperament exuding from Qi Yinran. It was as if she really came with the aura of an immortal. Her delicate face did not need the slightest makeup. It was exquisite and unparalleled. In an instant, the two of them were dumbfounded. The murderous intent in Mo Suli and Shui Yu's eyes fell directly on the two of them, as if they could not wait to peel off a layer of skin from their bodies. Seeing a woman, forgetting friendship. Yang Xuelin was also surprised. Qi Yinran's aloofness was not faked. That was within the Four Seas Medicine Mansion. It was said that Qi Yinran's whereabouts were extremely rare, and she rarely showed herself. It was not easy to find her. Now that she had taken the initiative to come to Yang Xuelin's door, Yang Xuelin was a little stunned when she thought about what had happened between the two of them on the pill refining platform. That guy couldn't have done something terrible to the little girl, right? Li Zongjio said that he had something to do, so he went back first. Do you have anything to say? I can help you pass on the message, Yang Xuelin said. Gone. Qi Yinran was stunned at first. She did not expect Li Zongjio to leave first. She had finally made up her mind, but she missed it just like that. Although she was a little happy in her heart, she was more disappointed. After all, Li Zongjio seemed to be very free and easy when he left, without the slightest reluctance. If there's nothing important, I'll take my leave first. After Qi Yinran finished speaking, she turned and left. Nothing important? How is it possible? There must be something between the two of them. Shueihua said resolutely. Anyone could see that there was even a trace of resentment on Qi Yinran's body. Haven't you seen enough? Do you want to catch up with them? Mo Suli said indifferently. His words were also filled with a faint but tenacious murderous intent. Kuan Erasure was fine, but Mu Qingyan immediately felt a chill on his back, as if there was a knife on the back of his head. Cough cough, Mu Qingyan. How can you be like this? You're really shameless. As a gentleman, I despise your behavior. Lan Kuan immediately regained his senses and gave Mu Qingyan another stab. Chapter 421. On the ancient road in the middle of the night, a horse carriage was speeding on the official road. It left the sacred Flame Royal City and headed towards the east. Sitting in the horse carriage was Mengyu, who had just walked out of the Four Seas Medicine Manor. Mengyu's mental power had suffered a setback. Add to that the injuries he had sustained and the humiliation he had suffered in the Four Seas Medicine Manor. It was a huge blow to Mengyu. Thus, Mengyu had returned this time. First, he was preparing to recuperate. Second, he was preparing to find an opportunity to kill Li Zongjio. In the horse carriage, Mengyu was hugging an enchanting woman in his arms as he was venting his anger. Li Zongjio, fuck you. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. The angrier he was, the more powerful he became. The horse carriage was shaking even more violently. The old man driving the horse carriage was also an expert with a decent cultivation. Otherwise, he would not be able to control the horse carriage at such a high speed. Suddenly, the old man felt that the surrounding air had become somewhat cold. The old man had just raised his head and looked at the strange movement in the sky. Suddenly, he saw a giant wolf descend from the sky and bite the old man's neck. Even though the old man was a 6th-grade Yuan ancestor, he did not have any strength to resist. His neck was bitten, and his body was thrown out. Boom! The Howling Moon Wolf King's body stepped on the horse carriage and instantly shattered the front beam of the horse carriage. The horse carriage fell to the ground and two figures flew out from the horse carriage. Mengyu's body rolled out. The sudden overturn of the horse carriage did not give Mengyu the time to wear his pants. However, he was able to react in time. After rolling a few times on the ground, he stood up and quickly wore his pants. Who? As for the naked woman who was flung away, she was directly pierced by the sharp branches and lost her life just like that. Mengyu did not care about the woman's life. However, When he saw that there was no one around, the old man driving the horse carriage was dead, and there was only a Yuan ancestor wolf in front of him, Meng Yu sneered. So it's just a beast. How dare you disturb my mood? A long sword suddenly appeared in Meng Yu's hand. Light swirled around the long sword. It was obvious that it was a powerful origin item sword. The Howling Moon Wolf King raised its paw and chewed on the head that it had just bitten off. After taking 2 bites, it seemed to find it too disgusting and spat it out with its saliva. Eyeballs, broken bones, tongues and the like all fell to the side of the grass. Seeing this scene, Meng Yu could not help but frown. At this moment, a figure descended from the sky and landed on the Howling Moon Wolf King's body. I told you you can't escape. The person who arrived was none other than Li Zongjio. When he saw Li Zongjio appear in front of him, even Meng Yu himself didn't expect this. I didn't expect you to take the initiative to seek death. I was still thinking about how to kill you. There's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. There's no door to hell, but you want to throw yourself into it. Meng Yu laughed heartily. He had wanted to kill Li Zongjio for a long time, but he had no choice. There were many people in Royal City. If something happened, even Meng Yu would not be able to explain himself. After all, Li Zongjio was a disciple of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor. Even if he went back and used some methods, it would take a lot of effort. But now that Li Zongjio had delivered himself to his doorstep, it would save Meng Yu a lot of trouble. This was the wilderness. If someone died, it would be very easy to cover it up. In this aspect, Qingyuan Manor had a lot of experience. Although Meng Yu's Yuan power cultivation was not very outstanding, and he was only a rank 5 origin ancestor, his strength was definitely considered to be outstanding among his peers. Most importantly, with Meng Yu's status, he had a big tree backing him. Naturally, he would have countless life-saving items in his hands. Thus, when facing Li Zongjio, there was no need for him to hide anything. Not only you, but the beast you're sitting on will also die. Meng Yu's eyes were cold. At this moment, he did not speak anymore. When he chopped off Li Zongjio's hands and feet, he would have the time and opportunity to humiliate him. Immediately, Meng Yu poured his Yuan power into the long sword in his hand. This sword, named Scarlet Ghost Flaming Tooth, immediately emitted an ominous light. At the same time, Meng Yu summoned his own Yuan spirit. Even when he was refining pills, he did not reveal it. When Meng Yu's Yuan spirit appeared, it was as if the gates of hell had opened. Then, a fierce aura was released from it, and a figure could be seen climbing out. 3 underworld ravens. With 3 heads, they bared their fangs, as if they were fighting for food. They were arguing with each other. The mouths of the 3 heads were spitting out flames. Dense underworld fire spread out from their bodies. It was as if they were showing off to Li Zongjio, standing on the Howling Moon Wolf King. These 3 underworld ravens had the blood of the underworld, just like the blood of the Azura. However, they were neither fish nor fowl, and no one knew what they were. The Howling Moon Wolf King blew out a breath from its nose, and the moon in the sky gradually became round. Although it was very round, it was still a full moon night. Scarlet Ghost Flaming Tooth Sword, Scarlet Ghost Flaming Wheel. Meng Yu shouted. Suddenly, the 3 underworld ravens behind him spat out flames, which landed on the sword. As Meng Yu swung the Scarlet Ghost sword, a flame wheel could be seen unceasingly moving forward. Rumble! A flaming wheel bloomed, crushing toward Li Zongjio. Wherever the flaming wheel passed, the ground would be scorched black. Within 100 years, the vitality would not be restored. When Li Zongjio saw Meng Yu making a move, he did not panic. The Howling Moon Wolf King carried Li Zongjio and jumped up. It seemed as if it wanted to jump over the flaming wheel and pounce toward Meng Yu. However, Meng Yu waved the sword in his hand and immediately pulled the flaming wheel back. The Howling Moon Wolf King could not dodge in time and was hit in the butt. Li Zongjio took advantage of the momentum and jumped, landing on the ground. As the Howling Moon Wolf King's body rolled, it unleashed all of its Yuan power and easily extinguished the flames on its body. It continued to stare at Meng Yu with a ferocious expression. At this moment it was truly enraged. How dare a puny human worm injure me? Is that all you've got? I, the evil lord, am magnanimous. I'll allow you to make another move. Li Zhongjiu said indifferently. In a moment of carelessness, he even blurted out his catchphrase from back then. However, the feeling of being an evil lord and being in control of power was still very satisfying. Hearing Li Zhongjiu's words, Meng Yu immediately sneered. What a joke! You actually gave yourself such a funny nickname. Evil lord? Haha, are you trying to make me laugh to death and then inherit my scarlet ghost sword? Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Meng Yu suddenly laughed towards the sky. As his laughter faded, the scarlet ghost sword was thrown out by Meng Yu. Evil spirit descends, underworld raven destroys the world. The two moves were executed at the same time. As the scarlet ghost sword flew, it immediately transformed into an evil spirit. Its body swayed, and its powerful claws swung toward Li Zhongjiu's body. If this move was successful, Li Zhongjiu's soul would be scattered. After this evil spirit, the three underworld ravens also flew out. Their bodies were covered in 3 different colored flames that intertwined together, forming a light flow. It seemed to have transformed into a world-destroying fireball that smashed toward Li Zhongjiu. Boom! The Howling Moon Wolf King could no longer hold back. Its body jumped out and directly held the world-destroying fireball in its mouth as it rolled away. When it rolled down a hill, it suddenly heard a loud sound. Boom! It was as if lightning had struck down, but it was the terrifying attack of the 3 underworld ravens. This directly made the Howling Moon Wolf King's mouth numb from the explosion. Facing the incoming evil spirit, Li Zhongjiu merely stretched out his hand and grabbed the flying scarlet ghost sword. Suddenly, the evil spirit seemed to be choked by Li Zhongjiu's hand. Its entire body knelt on the ground and gradually disappeared, finally returning to the scarlet ghost flaming tooth sword. A mere inferior sword spirit dares to play tricks in front of me? Li Zhongjiu laughed disdainfully. With a force in his hand, the scarlet ghost flaming tooth sword broke into 2 halves with a bang. Li Zhongjiu threw it to the side like trash. If a weapon had a spirit, its power would definitely increase by leaps and bounds. Just like the scarlet ghost flaming tooth sword, to be able to refine such a sword spirit, in the eyes of others, the sword's power was already extremely fierce and domineering. However, in Li Zhongjiu's eyes, it was still just a piece of trash. Such an inferior sword spirit had no way of hurting Li Zhongjiu. What? Meng Yu was also shocked. Li Zhongjiu actually caught his attack with one hand, and even broke the scarlet ghost flaming tooth sword. Was that guy's hand made of iron? He easily dispelled his attack. Behind him, a fishy wind blew. Then a figure jumped out. It was the Howling Moon Wolf King, who was in a sorry state from the explosion. Green smoke was coming out of the Howling Moon Wolf King's mouth, but under its claws, the 3-headed underworld raven's head was firmly stepped on. My original spirit. Although the original spirit was controlled by Yuan Master, it was still an independent entity. It was just that it lived in the body, and at the same time, it could cultivate and become stronger. Seeing his original spirit being stepped on by a wolf, Meng Yu's heart was filled with pain. Not to mention how painful it was. Evil creature, you're courting death. Although the Howling Moon Wolf King did not understand Meng Yu's words, he knew that this guy was not praising him. Then, he used his claws and directly pulled off the 3-headed underworld raven's head. Bang! Puff! Meng Yu immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. He pointed at the Howling Moon Wolf King, but at this moment, he was actually speechless. Chapter 422. I let you make 1 move, but you made 2. Are you looking down on me? Li Zhongjiu shook his head and slowly walked towards Meng Yu. What do you want to do? Li Zhongjiu, don't be so arrogant. Do you dare to kill me? Do you know who I am? I am the nephew of the Manor Lord of Qingyuan Manor. King Qingyuan is my uncle. Meng Yu seemed to be afraid. As he spoke, he couldn't help but retreat. Looking at Li Zhongjiu in front of him, he was really worried that the other party would stab him and kill him. Sure enough, Li Zhongjiu suddenly stopped when he heard these words. Seeing that his words were effective, Meng Yu was sure that Li Zhongjiu was afraid. Who wouldn't be afraid? That was the prince of the Xingyan dynasty, the younger brother of the Emperor Xingyan, who would dare to act recklessly. Even if you were slightly suspicious, as long as you were suspected, you could be beheaded. If you wanted to complain, It would be useless no matter who you looked for. No one would help you. This was the power of King Qingyuan. Just his name alone was enough to scare away the experts of the world. At this moment, Meng Yu only regretted that he didn't bring the Blood Strike Guard with him. Otherwise, he would definitely be able to capture Li Zongjio. Although it was only a superficial relationship, it was enough to show his status. He was from King Qingyuan's maternal family. To be able to become King Qingyuan's maternal family, one could imagine that the strength of this maternal family was definitely not simple. Now you know how to be afraid. Just you wait. One day, I will take your head and step on it under my feet. Meng Yu sneered. So it's a superficial relationship. I thought you were the son of the manor lord of Qingyuan Manor. Li Zongjio seemed a little disappointed when he heard this. His tone seemed to be somewhat dissatisfied. What did he mean by that? A superficial relationship? Could it be that he discriminated against superficial relationships? If it was King Qingyuan's son, would you still dare to act recklessly? How about this? You can go down first. Soon, I will send all of your family members and your uncle down to accompany you. Li Zongjio looked at Meng Yu and said. Meng Yu didn't understand what he meant. He was still thinking about where this Li Zongjio wanted him to go. However, when Meng Yu looked at Li Zongjio, she suddenly felt a sense of familiarity. The flying knife that had flown into his body on the alchemy platform seemed to be slowly coming out of his body. Meng Yu could feel a surge of energy rushing out of his body from the inside out. Pooh! A flying dagger drilled out of his chest. Before that, Meng Yu's heart had already been crushed. But before he died, he saw a flying dagger coming out of his body. He didn't even know when this flying dagger had entered his body. He didn't know that there was a flying dagger hidden in his body. And he didn't feel any discomfort. None of this was important. The important thing was that he finally knew where Li Zongjio wanted him to go. Bang! Meng Yu's body fell to the ground. Lin Fan stepped forward and took Meng Yu's storage ring. Using his mental energy, he found that there were many treasures in the storage ring. On Meng Yu's neck, there was a protective talisman. Unfortunately, this protective talisman didn't have any effect because the flying dagger had drilled out of Meng Yu's body. Although Meng Yu's strength was average, he couldn't pose any threat to Li Zongjio. However, if he attacked directly, the protective talisman on Meng Yu's body would automatically activate. If Meng Yu's identity was really noble, then the elders in the family would be very careful about him. They would set up all kinds of arrays in the protective talisman. Some array formations could release Yuan King-level energy waves in an instant, attacking indiscriminately and at a very fast speed. Although this method might kill their own people, it was believed that many people would do this in order to protect the core members of the group. After all, 100 guards were not worth as much as a master's life. Some of them even set up a portable teleportation array. The cost of such an array was extremely high. It could instantly teleport a person to a random corner thousands of miles away. It would be harder than ascending to the heavens to find him, unless Li Zongjio's mental energy broke through to the emperor level. Then he could easily use his mental energy to search for things within 1,000 miles. In order to ensure that nothing would go wrong, Li Zongjio had buried this vast flying knife in Meng Yu's body when he was in the Four Seas Medicine Mansion. No one could discover it, not even Meng Yu himself. As long as it was within the range of Li Zongjio's mental energy, he could activate this flying knife and take away Meng Yu's life at any time. It is indeed a teleportation talisman. If the attack triggered this talisman, I would have to search for you all over the world. Li Zongjio had killed so many people over the years. Of course, he had a lot of experience. As long as Li Zongjio wanted to kill someone, there was no one he couldn't kill. Leave a few claw marks and I'll take it that you killed him, Li Zongjio said to the Howling Moon Wolf King. As soon as he finished speaking, the Howling Moon Wolf King pounced forward and clawed Meng Yu's body into two halves. Fresh blood and internal organs splattered everywhere, and the scene was extremely bloody. Li Zongjio and the Howling Moon Wolf King took advantage of the night to return to their own manor. Entering the city wasn't a problem for an expert like Li Zongjio. However, when he was in a good mood, he would still walk through the main entrance. Now that Li Zongjio had the identity token of an alchemist bestowed by the emperor, he would be able to go anywhere unimpeded. The dynasty might set up all sorts of special identities. Therefore, the soldiers in charge of guarding these passageways would only recognize the identity token. Other than that, they wouldn't recognize anything else. Back in the manor, the blood-maned horse was also grazing in the backyard. The Howling Moon Wolf King had transformed into a small wolf dog and was lying in the front yard. In his eyes, the blood-maned horse was just a pile of food. Most importantly, it was food that he couldn't eat. Therefore, he had lost interest in it. How could he let a beast king, who was comparable to a Yuan monarch elite, chat with a horse? Li Zongjio had swallowed the 5 soul essence elixir and entered a state of cultivation. Daily cultivation was indispensable. Of course, during the cultivation process, he was also thinking about all sorts of things. First of all, there were less than 6 months until the beginning of spring next year. Since the Purple Mansion dynasty had given him the right to participate in such a huge competition, he had to participate in it. It didn't matter if he participated in it, but Li Zongjio would never do things for free. He had to get some benefits back. However, it was still early. He had to break into the Genius Tower first and retrieve the Universe 9 revolving needle manual first. Outside the city, the fluctuation of the Yuan spirit had also attracted the special envoys in the city. If it was just an ordinary fluctuation of the Yuan spirit, it would be fine. However, the intensity of the fluctuation had reached the Yuan ancestor realm. Any unpredictable factors that appeared had to be investigated. Royal City had to be absolutely safe. However, when the group of special envoys landed at the scene of the incident and saw the traces all over the ground, they immediately realized that something was wrong. The fierce traces left behind at the scene indicated that there had been a fierce battle here. What happened here? A gloomy voice sounded. The surrounding special envoys immediately retreated and greeted the person who had come forward. "Greetings, Commander." A man wearing a vermilion feather helmet and light silkworm armor walked out. The special envoy department was also divided into ranks. It was divided into 3 ranks: Permanent Envoy, Thorn Envoy, and Commander. Usually, the ones patrolling the streets were the permanent emissaries. Most of the cases were handled by them. The last time Dong Shuntian walked to Li Zongjio's manor, his identity was Thorn Envoy. Therefore, his authority was relatively greater. To become a commander, not only must one have rich experience in solving cases, but one must also have a relatively strong background. The commander who walked out now had a strong background, which was why he was sitting in his current position. This person was the son-in-law of the Sima Manor, Han Wuxia. His birth was nothing special, but he was lucky enough to climb up to the Sima family. When Han Wuxia had just taken up the position, the people around him had some doubts about his strength. However, he was a graduate of the Imperial Martial Arts Pavilion. He was strong and ruthless. Under Han Wuxia's ruthless methods, many cases were solved quickly. Therefore, no one in the Special Envoy Department dared to look down on Han Wuxia. "Commander, preliminary examination shows that the scene was done by a Yuan beast. As for what kind of Yuan beast it is currently being tested." A special envoy came forward to report. The area around the city gate was also under Han Wuxia's jurisdiction. If anything were to happen, Han Wuxia would be the one to take responsibility. Sir, this is bad." The person who went to identify the deceased suddenly came to Han Wuxia in a panic. His face was filled with fear. "How can you be so flustered? You are out to handle a case. Behave." Han Wuxia asked in a deep voice. "Yes, sir." "Sir, after the examination, there are 3 people who died. One is Xiaofang from the Red House in the city. The other person's head was smashed. We can't identify him, but from his appearance he should be the coachman. The 3rd person." When he mentioned the 3rd person, the envoy calmed himself down a little. "The 3rd person is Meng Yu from the Qing Yuan Manor. He is also a student of the Purple Pill Academy." "What?" Even Han Wuxia's face was filled with shock when he heard the name. He immediately went to investigate personally, and someone even gave the latter's identity token to Meng Yu. "It is indeed Meng Yu from the Qing Yuan Manor." Han Wuxia's eyes widened when he saw this. According to Meng Yu's identity, he could be considered as a member of the royal family. Although he only occupied a small part of the royal family, Meng Yu's identity was definitely not that simple. Even King Qing Yuan attached great importance to Meng Yu. Now he was dead. He died outside the sacred flame royal city. Chapter 423. Recently, a storm had been brewing in the city, and disputes had appeared frequently. Some of the conflicts between the clans had also surfaced. However, Li Zongjio, who was quietly cultivating in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, was also living a normal life. As long as Li Zongjio did not cause trouble, there would be very few major incidents. The previous incident with Beiho Liang ended without any results. There were no clues, and it was covered up by someone. Even the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor could not find out. Beiho Liang seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Although there were certain clues that pointed to the Yi clan, the 3 heirs of the Yi clan were already dead. Could it be that Yi Lantian was going to take responsibility for it? However, Yi Lantian did not give up on investigating the death of his 2 sons and 1 daughter. On this day, Yi Lantian had a meeting with the Deputy Minister of the Special Envoy Department, Su Yan. Su Yan could not refuse, and in the end, he handed over a list of names. The list was sorted from the largest to the smallest. Anyone who had some possibility was included in the list. The people on the list have grudges with you in the past. There are also some top assassins. Based on some of the whereabouts of the Special Envoy Department, these people have been to Monarch City before. Therefore, they are also very suspicious. Yi Lantian looked at the list in his hand. The people on the list were all people that Yi Lantian was familiar with. Now that he saw them, he was not surprised. However, when he saw the last name, Yi Lantian raised his eyelids. After many days of operations and investigations, Yi Lantian looked much older. Li Zongjio. Yi Lantian let out a cry of surprise. This name sounded a little familiar. This person is a student of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. At the beginning, we found out that during the recruitment examination of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor this year, 3rd young master bet heavily on someone called Zhang Hexuan. However, in the end, Li Zongjio stole the limelight. However, before the competition began, Zhang Hexuan committed suicide by jumping off a building, and Li Zongjio won first place. 3rd young master was angry at this person and sent people to assassinate Li Zongjio and Lianbi. However, they failed and both of them were killed by Li Zongjio. Su Yan recounted everything that had happened. Originally, in Su Yan's opinion, Li Zongjio was basically not a threat, so much so that there was no need to include him in the list. However, Li Zongjio's recent limelight had gradually emerged. Therefore, Su Yan thought about it again and again, and under the Sima family's suggestion, he also included Li Zongjio's name. This isn't the first time I've heard this person's name. I want all the information on this person. Fu you go. Yes, master. An old man behind him immediately replied, and went to collect information on Li Zongjio. Master, if there is nothing else, Su Yan will take his leave. Su Yan stood up and said, as the Deputy Minister of the Special Envoy Department, he naturally had to be in charge of all the cases in the city. He had no choice but to use this list of names. The Special Envoy Department did not have any evidence, so they could not arrest anyone. However, Yi Lantian knew what to do when he handed the list over to him. Go back and tell your master that this matter will be over for the time being. Yi Lantian finally relented. If he acted recklessly, it would only make his enemies happy. Perhaps someone was trying to sow discord between them. Therefore, Yi Lantian decided not to touch the Sima family for the time being. He would deal with the people on the list first before doing anything else. Su Yan heaved a sigh of relief when he heard Yi Lantian's words. Master, you are wise. Then he turned around and left the Yi residence. Although the Sima family and the Yi family had some competition, and even some grudges, they were able to reach a consensus sometimes. There was nothing strange about this. No one wanted to shed all pretenses of cordiality in such a manner. Li Zongjio, I want to see who exactly you are. After Yi Lantian saw Li Zongjio's recent performance in Royal City, a sinister expression appeared on his face. This was because Li Zhongjio's performance had shown that he was extremely talented. Master, the Zhao family will be holding an auction in the joyous heavenly pavilion tomorrow night. This time, Li Zhongjio will also be attending the auction. Do you want to make a move during the auction? Fu came to Yi Lantian's side and asked. Although the Yi family did not have many spies, they were rich. They had a lot of power. With just one order, countless people would come to investigate and report all kinds of information about Li Zhongjio, including the fact that Zhao Jingxian had invited Li Zhongjio and the others to attend the auction. Arrange for 10 Nightwalker assassins to kill them on the spot. Also, send someone to the Rain Pavilion and find a top assassin, just in case. Yi Lantian said. Yes, master. This old servant will do it right away. Wait a moment, get me a ticket too. I want to see these people die one by one in front of my eyes. If my son dies, they won't live either. Yi Lantian's eyes were filled with the light of revenge. The joyous heavenly pavilion. As one of the more famous restaurants in the city, an auction venue was set up on the 3rd floor. It was specially used for auctions, and the joyous heavenly pavilion was one of the properties of the Zhao family. Most of the time, the joyous heavenly pavilion was rented out for external use. This time, the Zhao family was personally holding an auction in their own territory, so they had to be fully prepared. Check everything carefully. Don't let anything go wrong with the equipment. The people who are here this time are definitely not people you can afford to offend. If anything goes wrong, I'll have all of your heads removed. The supervisor at the scene was also instructing the crowd to set up the stage and set up the seats. The first floor was the main hall, and there was also a small attic. The attic was filled with display windows, and the material of the windows was a kind of transparent stone. One could look outside from the inside, but there was no way to look inside from the outside. Moreover, the stone was coated with a kind of paint that blocked yuan power and mental energy. It was almost impossible for outsiders to find out the identity of the person in this private room. This was the VIP area. Every VIP area had its own private passageway. It led directly to the underground tavern. 1 second ago, the two of them were fighting fiercely in different VIP seats. But the next second, when they appeared in the underground tavern, they were still chatting merrily with each other, drinking and chatting merrily with each other. The security measures at the scene had to be up to standard. This time, they had even invited Elder Zhao Quan from the Zhao family to oversee the event. This was to prevent any unexpected situations from happening. It could be said that everything was ready. If someone did not pay, they would definitely not be able to escape. Just as the supervisor was making preparations, Elder Zhao Quan came over with some young people from the Zhao family and arranged for them to do some things. Jingxian, you said earlier that the people from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor are also coming? Zhao Quan asked. Although Zhao Quan was over 70 years old this year, he still looked very lively. As a Yuan King-level powerhouse of the Zhao family, Zhao Quan usually appeared in public and was relatively well known. Ordinary people would not mistake him for someone else. Furthermore, Zhao Quan seemed to be very approachable. Among the many Yuan King-level powerhouses, his connections were quite good. That's right. I made a few friends at the exchange competition between the 3 great academies a few days ago. Zhao Jingxian hurriedly stepped forward. Being able to follow Elder Zhao Quan and work for him meant that he had learned a lot, and the scenes he had seen were naturally different. Zhao Quan also liked Zhao Jingxian. After all, Zhao Jingxian was more tactful than the other disciples of the Zhao family. He had many tricks up his sleeves and was more flexible. Because of this, there were more variables. If he did not change, it would be very difficult for him to make a breakthrough. There were too many inflexible people in the Zhao family. Therefore, the Zhao family was still the same. If there were some slight changes, it would definitely become the leader of the 4 great families. Well done. Young people should not act like old people. How can those inflexible and inflexible thoughts lead the family to progress? People should be greedy. Only by being greedy and having desires can one improve. Yes. Elder is right, Zhao Jingxian said repeatedly. This elder was good at everything, but he was talkative. He could casually grab someone and talk for half a day. All right, the preparations are almost done. I will also go and rest. If there is nothing else, don't call me. Zhao Jingxian and the other disciples heaved a sigh of relief when they saw Elder Zhao Quan leave. When it was time to enter the venue, many people came with tickets. The seats were all marked. As a direct descendant of the Zhao family, Zhao Jingxian had to step forward to welcome any important guests, to show his grandeur. Of course, it was important to take care of the invited friends. Zhao Jingxian, you are quite diligent. Jiang Biyuan and a few friends came and greeted Zhao Jingxian when they saw him standing at the entrance. Why are you guys so late? Hurry up and go in. When it is over, I will bring you guys to wash your feet, Zhao Jingxian said. Then we will go in first. Wave after wave of people walked in. Just when Zhao Jingxian was getting anxious, Li Zongjiu and the rest were still not here. After all, they were disciples of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Moreover, Zhao Jingxian could see that Li Zongjiu was definitely not simple. Therefore, if he could befriend him, it would be a great advantage and benefit for Zhao Jingxian. They are here. Zhao Jingxian saw Li Zongjiu and the rest walking over from afar. At this moment, a palanquin landed at the entrance. The head of the Yi family has arrived. A messenger at the entrance shouted. Every important person would send such a message to show their respect. The head of the Yi family, Yi Lantian? Yi Lantian is here too. Oh my God. When Zhao Jingxian heard this, he was stunned. Chapter 424. Even the commoners who were passing by all knelt down to pay their respects. Yi Lantian was the head of the judicial division and a third-rank official in the imperial court. Other than a few honorable princes and marshals, he could cover the sky with one hand. Therefore, the commoners who passed by naturally had to kneel down to pay their respects. It's the head of the judicial division of the imperial court, Yi Lantian, a third-rank official. Mu Qingyan saw Yi Lantian's palanquin stop and was clearly a little surprised. Such a person actually came personally to participate in the auction. Although there were many good things in this auction, but to be able to attract such a person to come, it was really not easy. As expected of a third-rank official, his aura is indeed very strong. Mu Qingyan said in a deep voice. When Yi Lantian walked down from the palanquin, the surrounding people were obviously stunned by the latter's aura. Even Zhao Jingxian was a little stunned. After all, such a person was not so common. Where am I? Just as Zhao Jingxian regained his senses, he saw a figure blocking in front of Yi Lantian and walking straight towards Zhao Jingxian. Li Zongjiu. When Zhao Jingxian saw Li Zongjiu in front of him, he was instantly shocked when he came to his senses. Just now, he saw Li Zongjiu a little behind Yi Lantian. When he looked, Li Zongjiu actually appeared in front of him. Didn't that mean that Li Zongjiu actually walked in front of Yi Lantian just now? You actually, Zhao Jingxian stuttered and was speechless. In this world, there was actually someone who was so bold. Even Mu Qingyan, Kuan Erisher, and the others who had just walked over were shocked. When they saw Yi Lantian coming down, they had already stopped in their tracks. It was only right to be courteous to the officials. There was even an order of seniority. Naturally, they could not be in front of Yi Lantian. However, there was only one person who did not stop in his tracks. He directly walked past Yi Lantian's palanquin, walked up the steps and arrived in front of Zhao Jingxian. What's wrong? Did you see a ghost? Li Zongjiu couldn't help but ask when he saw Zhao Jingxuan's expression. How dare you walk in front of Lord Yi Lantian? Do you want to die? Zhao Jingxian hurriedly reminded in a low voice. Yi Lantian had already landed on the ground. At this moment, he was staring at Li Zongjiu with an extremely gloomy gaze. Yi Lantian, who is it? As he spoke, Li Zongjiu turned around to look at Yi Lantian. They were separated by a few steps, so Li Zongjiu was also looking down at Yi Lantian. How dare you stand in front of an important official of the imperial court? Get out of my way! The old man beside Li Zongjiu shouted angrily. He did not bring any guards with him. Otherwise, he would have taken Li Zongjiu down immediately. My God, you old servant with a face full of wrinkles. Who are you telling to get lost? Do you know who I am? You must be blind. Li Zongjiu rebuked angrily, as if he was not afraid of anything. With his current status, he was naturally not someone that any old servant beside Yi Lantian could reprimand. Although other people might not dare to offend him because of Yi Lantian, and this old man was also a Yuan King elite, who was Li Zongjiu. Why would he care about this? How dare you? I'll fucking let you go. Men, throw this old bastard out. Li Zongjiu shouted directly. He Fu had worked by Yi Lantian's side for many years, but had never met such an unruly and overbearing person. How dare he ask him to get lost? Did he not want to live anymore? Fu's face instantly turned ashen. Naturally, no one dared to throw the old man out. Although Li Zongjiu could recruit private soldiers to accompany him, he had not started recruiting them yet. However, as an imperial alchemist, Li Zongjiu had the right to reprimand an old servant. As long as Li Zongjiu did not give Yi Lantian face, it would be fine. Zhao Jingxian saw that things were going to get worse. Li Zongjiu had probably just been promoted and had obtained such a status. He did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Moreover, he did not know Yi Lantian. If he knew Yi Lantian, no one would dare to be so arrogant. After all, Yi Lantian was in charge of the judicial division. If he was unhappy with someone, he could directly send 3 divisions and 13 guards to investigate the person thoroughly. Even if the person spat on the street, he would have a reason to arrest the person. After being caught, it would not be easy to get out again. It's a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. Lord Yi, this is Lord Li Zongjiu, who has just obtained the Imperial Alchemist qualification. Li Zongjiu, this is the head of the judicial division, Lord Yi Lantian. His rank is 1 level higher than yours, Zhao Jingxian said to Li Zongjiu. He even deliberately explained Yi Lantian's position. This was to tell Li Zongjiu that this person in front of him could not be provoked. If he provoked him, the consequences would be very miserable. Yi Lantian? Yi Lantian? Li Zongjiu was surprised. If he did not remember wrongly, in the information that Bei Holiang gave him, it was written that Yi Lantian was the patriarch of the Yi family. Yi Lantian also heard Zhao Jingxian call out Li Zongjiu's name. He raised his head and looked at the arrogant and despotic young man in front of him. He was so arrogant when he was in power. In Monarch City, his arrogance would probably be suppressed in less than 2 days. Originally, he did not need to do anything. However, since Li Zongjiu was suspected, he had to send him away. Now, it seemed that Li Zongjiu did not have the ability to do so. However, he had offended Yi Lantian. In addition, he had not been cleared of suspicion previously. This made Yi Lantian snort coldly. So it's Alchemist Li. Haha, Alchemist Li is young and promising. This old servant of mine did not have eyes and offended you. Can you give me Yi Lantian some face? This matter will end here, Yi Lantian said. Yi Lantian said. When he said this, even Zhao Jingxian was shocked. One had to know that this great god in front of him was a tyrant in Monarch City. He had given face to many people, and yet now, he actually admitted defeat to Li Zongjiu. Although the dynasty valued alchemists, with Yi Lantian's status, there was no need for him to do so. Could it be that the successive deaths of his son and daughter had caused Yi Lantian to keep a low profile? As long as Yi Lantian did not pursue the matter, this matter could be resolved and passed peacefully. Today's auction could also be held as usual. It's fine to let bygones be bygones. I'm not an unruly and unkind person. As for the person who spoke rudely just now, slap him 3 times, and this matter will be over. Li Zongjiu also wanted to let this matter go. However, after hearing Yi Lantian's name, he did not plan to let this matter go so easily. After all, since the Yi family dared to provoke him, they should be prepared to die. Yi Lantian had previously instructed Yi Lonmoon to silence Li Zongjiu. However, in Yi Lantian's eyes, this Li Zongjiu was just an ant by the roadside. After the incident, he would not even think of him. It was only now that he slowly remembered this Li Zongjiu. It turned out that he had already instructed him to do so. Let's not talk about Yi Lantian first. When Zhao Jingxian heard this, his face instantly turned pale. How could Li Zongjiu be so bold? This was the Yi family's patriarch, Yi Lantian, who had personally appeared here. It was not only Zhao Jingxian. When Kuan Erisher Mu Qingyun and the others heard Li Zongjio's request. All of them were so scared that they broke out in cold sweat. It was really too shocking. Where exactly did Li Zongjio get the courage to say such a thing? Afu, we heard what Alchemist Li said. Yi Lantian's expression did not show any joy or sorrow. He did not say anything else. As for the old servant, Afu, he did not hesitate to slap his own face 3 times. Slap, slap, slap. This slap was too sudden. Zhao Jingxian also did not have time to stop it. Good, good, good. You Yi Lantian are considered a formidable person. This time, I'll let you go. Li Zongjio laughed out loud and said good 3 times. They themselves were mortal enemies. When he saw Yi Lantian's gaze, and the slap that was thrown out, Li Zongjio also knew that Yi Lantian was going to make a move on him, since neither of them was prepared to let the other go. So what if the other was arrogant? I'll go in first. Li Zongjio patted Zhao Jingshuan's shoulder, and turned to walk into the auction. At this moment, Zhao Jingshuan's intestines were green with regret. Why did he invite Li Zongjio over? How could this Li Zongjio be so bold? He directly shouted in front of Yi Lantian. Even the Sima family's patriarch would not be able to not give Yi Lantian face. Kuan Erasher and the others were not as arrogant as Li Zongjio. After Yi Lantian and Yi Lantian walked in, she followed them. Although Zhao Jingxian tried his best to apologize, Yi Lantian did not even look at Zhao Jingxian. It's over, it's over. Where did this Li Zongjio come from? Zhao Jingxian said with a long face. In this way, it was not difficult to figure out. Zhao Jingxian dared to hit him in the 4 C's medicine manner back then. He did not even give Yi Lantian face, so beating him up was not a big deal at all. Don't be afraid, it's okay. Don't worry. Kuan Erasher patted Zhao Jingxian and comforted him. Among these people, only Kuan Erasher knew why Li Zongjio was not afraid of Yi Lantian. Because both of Yi Lantian's sons were killed by Li Zongjio. Even that night, Lone Moon had made a move in front of him. And that night, Yi Ruhan died directly. It was not hard to imagine that it was Li Zongjio's doing. That's Li Zongjio. He really doesn't want to come out. At the corner of the street, a palanquin was also stopped there. The place ahead was a place of trouble. If one rashly approached, it was inevitable that they would be implicated. And the person sitting in the palanquin, it was the young miss of the 7-star fire room, Song Jiyu. Obviously, Song Jiyu had also received an invitation to participate in this auction. As the young miss of the Song family, she was also in charge of the 7-star fire room. With the Zhao family's strength, she had to know what new things had appeared in the Zhao family. If there were good things, she had to buy them directly. She had to have a sharp business sense. However, before she entered, she saw Li Zongjio angrily scolding the servant beside Yi Lantian. He even forced the servant to slap him on the street. If such a heroic deed were to spread, he would probably be admired by thousands of people. Chapter 425. Miss Li Zongjio is spoiled and domineering. It'll be difficult for him to achieve great things. Last time, you even gave him a set of expensive thunder sound short arrows. The servant beside Song Jiyu said. Looking at Li Zongjio's current state, it would not be long before his name was removed from the city, even if he did not directly kill Li Zongjio. However, with just one sentence from Yi Lantian, Li Zongjio would no longer have any resources in the city. No one would dare to invite Li Zongjio to do anything, and no one would dare to support Li Zongjio. Otherwise, it would be equivalent to going against Yi Lantian. In just a few days, the Yi family had already destroyed several forces. Even the Sima family was somewhat unable to withstand it. Therefore, one could see how powerful this Yi Lantian was. What a pity. Originally, I thought that he still had some courage. Now this Li Zongjio is done for. Let's go. Song Jiyu said indifferently. Inside the private room, the tickets that Li Zongjio and the others received all belonged to the same private room. After entering, they were led by a person and walked through a special passage. During the process, they did not come into contact with anyone. This showed that the confidentiality was very high. Esteemed guests, the items obtained from the auction will be sent to the private rooms as soon as possible. After the auction is over, you can use this elevator to directly go to the underground wine pool. No one will know what you have auctioned. The confidentiality is extremely high. Esteemed guests, please feel free to auction your items. The attendant who led the way said. Understood. You may leave. Mu Qingyan rewarded the envoy with a purple yuan coin. The waiter walked away happily. After the attendant left, Mu Qingyan and Mo Su Li's expressions were extremely solemn. Li Zhongjio, you're in big trouble. Mu Qingyan's face was as ugly as it could get. Originally, Mo Su Li didn't care about these things. However, considering that Li Zhongjio had helped him before, he couldn't help but worry about Li Zhongjio. With her ability, if Li Zhongjio graduated from the Heavenly Star Medicine Mansion, it wouldn't be a big problem for her to arrange for him to do things in the Nantan region, as long as Li Zhongjio was willing. After leaving the Sacred Flame Royal City, with her master's influence, the Yi clan would be relatively weaker. However, Li Zhongjio acted as if nothing had happened. He did not care about Yilantian at all. It's not a big deal. Don't worry, I know who Yilantian is. Li Zhongjio said. You know, yet you're still so unbridled. Although the identity of an imperial alchemist gives you the status of an official, it's just an empty position. It's obviously not a wise thing to go against a big shot like Yilantian. Mo Su Li couldn't help but say. Within the royal city, the area outside the inner imperial city was practically under Yilantian's control. It wasn't strange at all that he could control the clouds and rain with a flip of his hand. Don't worry, Yilantian won't live for long. I think he looks like a despicable person. Despicable people will naturally be punished by the heavens. Li Zhongjio said indifferently. Seeing that Li Zhongjio didn't take it to heart, Mu Qingyan and Mo Su Li looked at each other, as if they could see the helplessness in each other's eyes. Is this Yilantian really that powerful? On the other hand, Shueihua frowned as if she didn't dare to believe it. Shueihua had heard a lot about the reputation of the Yi clan head. However, she had never seen him before. Now that she heard that Yilantian was actually able to cover the sky with a single hand outside of the inner imperial city, she was shocked. He's more than just powerful. Then, Mu Qingyan casually counted some of the officials in the imperial court. They were all imprisoned, and some of the officials even wanted to join forces to impeach Yilantian. However, before the impeachment report could be sent to Emperor Xingyan, it was directly blocked. The families of the latter were also executed. There were all kinds of reasons. Some were corrupt, some were colluding with rebels, and causing chaos in the imperial court. Moreover, they were all backed by solid evidence. No one would dare to believe such a thing even if it was told. However, it did happen, and it happened right under the nose of the emperor. Although there was no real evidence for these actions, Mu Qingyan, as a member of the Mu clan, had to grasp the wind direction of the imperial court. Naturally, he had some understanding of these matters. Moreover, the real situation was far crueler than what he could imagine. Is he really that arrogant? Shueihua was dumbfounded when she heard it. This old man is really powerful. I heard that a few days ago. He seemed to have directly dealt with a few officials in the prefecture. These people were all disciples of the Sima clan. Kuan Erishur held a fruit in his hand and said as he ate. I see. Shueiyua's eyes widened, as if she was holding a small notebook in her heart to record this matter. However, things have already turned out this way. Don't worry. As long as we stay in the medicine manor, he can't do anything. Our Heavenly Star Medicine Manor is still very powerful. Mu Qingyan said. Since things have already turned out this way, this is the only way. I need to pee. I need to relieve myself. Li Zhongjio said as he stood up. The auction had not started yet, and everyone had not arrived. At the entrance, a middle-aged man in a black robe raised his head and looked around. After confirming the location, he stretched out his hand and handed over a ticket to the ticket checker at the entrance. The ticket checker saw a burned scar on the back of the man's hand the moment he stretched out his hand. The scar seemed to be extremely serious. Therefore, the man's entire body was shrouded in a black robe and gave off a gloomy and cold feeling. Go in. Your seat is an ordinary seat. The man did not take the ticket, and his body brushed past the ticket checker, as if he had floated in. Hey, your ticket. the ticket checker could not help but shout. However, when he saw the man's strange behavior, he could not help but give up. Standing beside that man, he had a bad feeling and felt that his body was incomparably cold. What a strange man. The ticket checker could not help but mutter in his heart. However, when he looked at the ticket in his hand, it turned into a blank piece of paper. How can this be? Where's the ticket? When the ticket checker saw that the ticket in his hand had turned into a blank piece of paper, his eyes immediately widened. However, at this moment, he did not dare to make a sound. If someone knew that he had let someone without a ticket in, he would definitely be punished. Since he had already entered, so be it. If that guy caused trouble inside, naturally someone would take care of him. Yi Lantian's private room. Has the manpower been arranged? Everything has been arranged, master. Fu said respectfully. The arrangement he was talking about was naturally the matter of the assassins. He directly selected 10 experienced and powerful assassins. They were extremely good at disguising and assassinating. From this moment on, they were already carrying out the mission. Just as Li Zongjie walked towards the toilet, he happened to see a person walking out of the toilet. Hee, little brother, I just finished. The smell is a little strong. The person who walked out was a man dressed in ordinary businessman's clothes. When he saw Li Zongjie, he naturally revealed a cunning and kind smile. Excuse me, I'm going to wash my hands. As the man spoke, he was about to move closer to Li Zongjie. However, Li Zongjie sneered. An iron hammer appeared in his hand. Thunder profound hammer. The man also seemed to sense that Li Zongjie seemed to be about to make a move. A sharp knife was hidden in his sleeve. With a trace of extremely obscure yuan energy fluctuation, it slashed towards Li Zongjie's neck. However, Li Zongjie was faster. He directly hit the man's arm with the hammer. Crack! Like smashing an egg, the bones in the man's arm were directly smashed into pieces. The excruciating pain immediately caused the latter to scream. Li Zongjie smashed the iron hammer again. This time, it directly smashed the other party's teeth, and all the teeth were swallowed into the other party's stomach. You want to assassinate me with this little ability? The two of you inside, get the hell out. As soon as he finished speaking, 2 figures suddenly rushed out of the other 2 latrines with tightly shut doors. Kill. Without saying anything, they directly stabbed towards Li Zongjie's vital points. Li Zongjie also snorted coldly. He pushed the middle-aged businessman in front of him, causing him to crash into one of the men. The other man took the lead to approach Li Zongjie. When the man's dagger stabbed towards him, Li Zongjie did not dodge. Ding! The dagger stabbed into Li Zongjie's chest. However, it was like stabbing into a steel plate. It only pierced through the clothes on his body. The skin under the clothes did not receive the slightest bit of damage. How is this possible? The man who attacked was also taken aback. However, at this moment, Li Zongjie's hammer greeted him. Bang! There was no time to dodge. It was directly smashed into half of the man's head. Blood splattered everywhere. His body suddenly fell to the side, and blood flowed all over the ground. The third man pushed the man in front of him away. He originally wanted to continue attacking Li Zongjie. However, when he saw the fate of his companion, he immediately chose to give up and fled towards the direction of the window. Li Zongjie did not show any mercy. He directly knocked the man down with a hammer. The hammer hit the back of the man's head. His face fell directly into the latrine pit. Even if he did not die, he would have been suffocated to death. What a bummer! Li Zongjie wiped the blood stains on the hammer. Then, he directly stepped on the man's body to relieve himself. The first man also swallowed the teeth, causing his internal organs to be directly penetrated. He died from the pain. After relieving himself, Li Zongjie also washed his hands and walked out as if nothing had happened. Chapter 426. When Li Zongjie left the latrine, 4 figures quickly walked in and cleaned up the 3 corpses. The bloodstains at the scene were also cleaned up in a timely manner. This is troublesome. I'm afraid that this brat's strength is not that simple. The 3 of them quickly cleaned up the latrine. Are you all done? Retreat quickly. Yi Lantian must have sent you guys. It seems like that brat is prepared to make his move today. Li Zhongjiu's departing figure actually turned back once again, blocking the entrance. Li Zhongjiu's sudden appearance also caused the four of them to stop what they were doing. One by one, they took out their own daggers. Although the few of them were only at the peak of the Yuan general level, they had once killed a Sky Origin Ancestor level powerhouse. Even a Sky Origin Ancestor would not be able to escape from their hands. When they saw that Li Zhongjiu had actually turned back, the four of them arranged themselves in a formation. When they saw Li Zhongjiu in front of them, their eyes were filled with murderous intent. "Don't waste time. Come at me together," Li Zhongjiu said indifferently. Li Zhongjiu did not know how many people Yi Lantian had arranged in the auction venue. However, Li Zhongjiu knew that Yi Lantian seemed to have underestimated him. These people were not even enough to fill the gaps between Li Zhongjiu's teeth. After 3 breaths, 4 corpses lay on the ground. The last person still had a breath left in him. Li Zhongjiu immediately removed the dagger in his hand and cut off his thumb. After wrapping the thumb with a piece of cloth, Li Zhongjiu walked out and found a waiter in charge of the auction. This waiter was in charge of serving tea. "Send this item to Yi Lantian's private room. This is a very important item," Li Zhongjiu said. When the attendant heard that it belonged to Lord Yi Lantian, he did not dare to neglect it. He hurriedly placed the item on the tray and delivered it to Yi Lantian. Back in the private room, "Are you all right?" Kuan Erisher asked. If they met Yi Lantian again, the situation would probably get out of control. Moreover, Li Zhongjiu had been gone for a long time. Could it be that there was something wrong? "It's fine. Has the auction started?" Li Zhongjiu asked. Soon, everyone rested on the sofa in the private room. At the same time, there was a list of the items that would be auctioned today on the table. Before the auction began, the auction house would only announce some important treasures. Some of the items were even leaked out in this way, because only then would there be enough mystery. The list also contained the items that would be auctioned this time. The 7 Stars Fire Room actually provided a newly developed Yuan artifact. What's it called? Raging Dragon Slaying Flames? That's a little fierce. Where is it? Let me see. The boys were naturally very interested in such weapons, especially when they heard the extremely cool names. They were even more excited. Dragon Slaying Fury? This thing has already been created. Li Zhongjiu was stunned when he heard the name. Li Zhongjiu had used this item before in his previous life. Moreover, when he was escaping for his life, he used this item to kill a strong enemy and help Li Zhongjiu escape. There were many times when Li Zhongjiu was able to survive because of this Yuan artifact called Raging Dragon Slaying Flames. However, when Li Zhongjiu saw the picture of the Raging Dragon Slaying Flames, he immediately understood. So it's only a first-generation design. Li Zhongjiu said, "Boss, you seem to have a lot of knowledge about Yuan artifacts." Kuan Erisher looked at Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu was already extremely talented in both battle and alchemy. If he could be said to have a lot of knowledge about Yuan artifacts, then wouldn't Li Zhongjiu be omnipotent? "I know a little," Li Zhongjiu said. Although it was only a first-generation design, its power was still very great. Back then, Li Zhongjiu had the Raging Dragon Slaying Flames several decades later. Furthermore, it was already the 10th generation design. To be able to design such a powerful Yuan artifact, the person in the 7-star flame room had to be a genius in weaponry. Otherwise, how could he have designed such a fierce Yuan artifact? On the surface, Raging Flames Capture Dragon looked like a long, thick tube. However, there was a pitch-black fire outlet within the long tube. In addition, there was also a recess around the tube. This recess was used to imitate the Yuan crystal and provide energy. The starting price is actually 4 million purple yuan. This is a little high. If it's put up for auction, then it's definitely not the best craftsmanship of the 7-star flame room. Even if it's bought, it will only be a pile of obsolete goods. However, to be able to seriously injure a grade 1 Yuan monarch powerhouse within 100 feet, this kind of power is enough to save one's life at a critical moment. Kuan Erisher and Mu Qingyan were also discussing. At this auction, they could come into contact with some of the more advanced items. Why is the Sky Fragrance Drunken Moon Pearl here? When Mu Qingyun saw one of the items, she was shocked. The sky fragrance drunken moon pearl? What's this? Kuan Erisher asked curiously. After looking at the introduction, it wasn't anything special. It was just a pearl that could emit a fragrance all year round. It was suitable for girls to wear. The sky fragrance drunken moon pearl would emit a fragrance according to the pulsation of the user's pulse. This fragrance was also helpful for cultivation, refreshing the mind, and improving one's eyesight. Oh, what's this? Is it very powerful? Let me take a look. Shueiwa also came over and snatched the catalog. It's nothing special, but it's an item of the royal family. Why would an item of the royal family be put up for auction? Are they tired of living? Kuan Erisher said in shock. If this item was stolen, and the auction house dared to put it up for auction, it would be the same crime as theft. It should be that the royal family is short of money. The market value of this item is at most 500,000 purple yuan, but the starting price is already 1 million purple yuan. I guess it's going to be a no bid. Mu Qingyun said. What? A no bid? What do you mean by a no bid? Can't the items in the auction be sold? Shueiwa immediately said in shock. As far as she knew, any ordinary item that was put up for auction would definitely be sold off. How could there be a no bid? Who said so? If the price of this item is too high, or if no one wants to buy it, then no one will bid for it. It will be placed in the next auction, or it will be withdrawn from this auction. Don't tell me that you don't even know this? Mu Qingyun looked at Shueiwa curiously. Speaking of Shueiwa, Mu Qingyun really had to ask this fellow properly. Even Mu Qingyun didn't know where Shueiwa came from. She only said that she came from a small family from Jiangbei. After all, they were classmates, so she didn't ask too much. But now, it seemed that there were still many strange things about this Miss Shueiwa. What I mean is, how can such a good item be a no bid? There must be a lot of people fighting to buy it. Shueiwa suddenly had an idea and said, so that's what she meant. The items on the stage were also removed. Then, an old man in a long robe came up and knocked a small hammer on the table. The hammer fell on an iron plate and made a tinkling sound. This was called a final hammer strike. Once the hammer fell 3 times in a row, the item was considered a deal. Everyone, I've made you wait for a long time. This auction is held by the Zhao family. First, this old man here represents the Zhao family to welcome everyone. The old man from the Zhao family said with a smile. Then, he said a lot before pushing the first item up for auction. Li Zhongjie did not care about other things. He was only interested in the stone tablet that was excavated from the compassionate travel sect. Li Zhongjie could not remember this thing clearly, but he vaguely felt that this thing seemed to be quite important. In the private room where Yi Lantian was, a waiter knocked on the door. Afu opened the door and immediately saw a waiter dragging a plate. On the plate was something wrapped in a cloth. Sir, this is what a young master said to give to Sir Yi. The waiter handed the cloth bag to Afu. Elder Fu tipped the waiter with a purple yuan coin and let him leave. What is it? Yi Lantian looked over. However, when old Fu opened the cloth bag in his hand, there was a thumb inside. There was an iron ring on the thumb. The inner wall of the iron ring was engraved with some information. It was also a sign of mutual authentication. When they saw this finger, the two of them did not panic at all. Yi Lantian seemed to have guessed it long ago. Based on what I saw today, it's still a little difficult for these assassins to kill him. Yi Lantian analyzed. I deserve to die. Elder Fu hurriedly said. It has nothing to do with you. Who is the person that the Rain Pavilion invited? It's Shadow Fox. With Shadow Fox's cultivation base, it won't be a problem for him to kill this person. Yi Lantian said in a serious tone. When he looked at Li Zhongjie, he felt that something was wrong. Some young people, even those with power and influence in the city, were careful and trembling when they saw Yi Lantian. However, when Li Zhongjie saw him, he did not look scared at all. Instead, he looked at him with disdain from the bottom of his heart. He was not afraid of his majesty at all. This made Yi Lantian feel a little incredulous. Looking at Li Zhongjie's appearance, he was not pretending. If even Shadow Fox can't deal with this person, then we have to be careful. Yi Lantian seemed to be a little worried. Elder Fu glanced at Yi Lantian. In his heart, he wanted to get rid of Li Zhongjie. It had been a long time since he saw such an expression on Yi Lantian's face. Old master, don't worry. Li Zhongjie will definitely die. Chapter 427. Most of the items being auctioned were tools and elixirs. Even precious items, such as elemental arts, had yet to appear. Of course, if elemental arts or elemental skills were auctioned off, the scale of the auction wouldn't be limited to this. So far, more than 10 items had been sold. Only a few items had failed to be auctioned off. Next, this item is rather special. Bring it up. As the old man from the Zhao family spoke, someone brought the item up. This is a heavenly fragrance drunken moon stone. According to the appraisal, this heavenly fragrance drunken moon stone is over 100 years old. It is worthy of being called the Stone King. Wearing it can nourish one's body and prolong one's life. There are many effects that can't be listed here. In short, this old man dares to guarantee that if you buy this item, you will definitely not suffer a loss. The starting price is 1 million purple yuan. Each increment is 100,000 purple yuan. After the old man from the Zhao family finished speaking, he slammed the hammer in his hand. A crisp sound rang out. Firstly, it was to remind everyone that they could start bidding. Secondly, it was to wake up those who were dozing off. However, after the hammer slammed down, the entire place was silent. Not a single person raised their placard to bid. To some experts who cultivated elemental power, this item was actually useless. However, most importantly, those who knew the ropes naturally knew that this item belonged to the imperial family. If it fell into the hands of others, it would definitely bring about a certain amount of trouble. Although it could be said that even if they bought this item and sold it, it would still be very easy to give it away as a favor. However, there was no need to go through so much trouble. Young miss, this seems to be Princess Jing'an's. Song Jiyu raised her hand to signal the servant beside her to stop talking. She blinked her eyes and looked around. Song Jiyu herself had nothing to hide, so she directly sat in the main hall. However, in this main hall, she was also near the front. Some people recognized Song Jiyu, while others didn't. However, when a beauty sat beside them, they would more or less take a few glances. Song Jiyu naturally also saw that this item wasn't simple. Therefore, he told the maidservant to shut her mouth and stop talking. So it's a Stone King. 1 million purple yuan is indeed a bit low. If someone dares to bid, it should be at least 3 million. Mu Qingyan said. Even from such a distance, she could still feel the gentle aura from the heaven fragrance drunken moonstone. To many girls, the effects of the heaven fragrance drunken moonstone were extremely good. After all, many girls' bodies lean towards the inside. What? It can be sold for 3 million. Shuiyu jumped up in shock again. Yeah, if it's the Stone King, then its value would be at least 5 or 6 times higher. No matter how bad the item is, as long as it reaches the peak of its quality, then it will have a qualitative change. Yi Xuan said with a smile. Mu Qingyan said. He didn't really care about Shueyu's reaction. After all, Shueyu didn't seem to have enough brains at times. 2 million. Kuan Erishur suddenly shouted from the box. As he shouted at the person on the stage, the people in the box couldn't help but look at Kuan Erishur. Li Zhongjie's eyes were full of disdain for Kuan Arashi's behavior. Are you retarded? Did you hear someone shouting to increase the price in the VIP box? Li Zhongjie said bluntly. After Kuan Erishur shouted, he seemed to find that there was no effect. Hey, why can't he hear it? If you want to increase the price, just pull this lever. It will be 100,000, 500,000, 1 million. This one is 10 million. Don't pull it down casually. There was a lever on the table which corresponded to 5 gears. So that's how it is. If you didn't say it, I wouldn't have known. Kuan Erishur said and laughed. Mu Qingyan and Emo Suli rolled their eyes at Kuan Erishur. There were all kinds of top-quality goods. If he hadn't been here before, then so be it. He even pretended to be very familiar with it. Then Kuan Erishur also increased the price by 1 million purple yuan. The VIP box is increasing the price by 1 million purple yuan. Is there anyone who wants to increase the price? The originally awkward situation was finally salvaged by this sudden increase in the price. His mood immediately improved. There was finally someone who had made a bid. "What are you going to do with this thing?" Li Zhongjiu asked Kuan Erishur. Obviously, Kuan Erishur was a man. If he wore this thing, wouldn't he be a big sissy? "I'm just buying it to study it." Lan Kuan thought that there shouldn't be anyone who would raise the price. Just as he was about to sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor, someone in the hall suddenly raised his hand and directly increased the price by 500,000 purple yuan. Now it's 2,500,000 purple yuan. Is there anyone else who wants to make a bid? This sky fragrance drunken moonstone is rare in this world. It's the best of the best. The craftsmanship of this stone is definitely 1 in a million. It can be used for at least 1,000 years. Every year, you only need to spend less than 10,000 purple yuan to enjoy such a precious stone. How luxurious. When someone increased the price, the auctioneer naturally became excited. If the price was raised and exceeded the estimated price of these items, then he would definitely be able to earn a sizable commission. This commission was precisely what he was aiming for. "My lord, the person who increased the bid was Shadow Fox." The private room that started the bidding was the private room where Li Zhongjiu's friend was. Elder Fu immediately stepped forward and said, although some of the information in the Joyous Heavenly Pavilion's auction was kept confidential, there were no secrets in front of Yi Lantian. If you wanted to know something, then you had to tell him everything. Ying Hu's way of doing things is full of tricks. Let's also light a fire. I'd like to see what this Li Zhongjiu is capable of. After saying that, Yi Lantian directly increased the price by 1 million purple yuan. The VIP box has bid 3 million purple yuan. Is there anyone who wants to make a higher bid? If you're quick, you'll get it. If you're slow, you won't get it. Elder Zhao immediately became excited. 3 million, it's already 3 million. If there's a little more, then I'll be able to earn a sizable commission. Who wouldn't be happy? He had to increase the price. Kuan Erishur originally thought that no one would compete with him. However, now that the price had been raised to 3 million, it would be a little excessive if the price continued to increase. It would not be worth it if he bought it. How dare someone try to snatch the item that my brother wants? Li Zhongjiu's face was instantly filled with anger. In any case, Kuan Erishur was his underling. If his underling were to lose face outside, then as the boss he would lose face too. He immediately pulled the control lever to the bottom. No! When Mu Qingyan saw Li Zhongjiu pull the lever to the bottom, he almost had a heart attack. This was too frightening. That was the price of 100 million purple yuan. Ding! However, it was too late. The old man immediately slammed the hammer on the table. A distinguished guest bid 100 million purple yuan. 100 million purple yuan. Oh my god, this distinguished guest has a good eye and courage. If he had not seen such a big scene, and if he had not reacted quickly, then the hammer would not have fallen so quickly. When the hammer comes down, the old man could clearly feel his heart beating faster. In the hall area, there was an obvious commotion. It was not because 100 million purple yuan was a lot. Although it was a large number, it was not enough to cause an uproar. The main reason was that the value was not equal. The Sky Fragrance Moonstone was worth 3 million purple yuan at most. Now, it had been raised to 100 million purple yuan. How could anyone accept this? It was like spending 100 million purple yuan to buy a stone on the roadside. Moreover, the seller had clearly told you that it was a stone. Could it be that someone is here to launder money? Maybe. This thing is actually priced at 100 million purple yuan. Is there a mistake? Could it be that two big shots are going crazy for love? Various voices began to murmur. There were many guesses between each other regarding the appearance of such a situation. However, in the past, there were often situations where two big shots would throw money at each other. If they didn't like each other, they would throw money at each other. In the end, both sides would suffer losses. Although some people gained fame, in the end the value of the things they earned was still remarkable. Ying Hu sat in the corner and raised his head slightly to look at the private room above him. Initially he only wanted to tease them. However, he did not expect this to happen. Ying Hu could not continue to raise the price. He immediately crossed his arms in front of his chest and sensed the VIP seats above him. Above him was the VIP seats where Li Zongjio and the others were seated. Yi Lantian originally wanted to tease these young people. He wanted to show them what it meant to have a strong foundation and what it meant to be invincible. However, Yi Lantian was caught off guard by the situation before him. Afu, could it be that young people nowadays are so hot-tempered? Yi Lantian said in a low voice. Even Elder Fu's face showed a trace of embarrassment. If Yi Lantian continued to raise the price, it did not mean that he could not take out 100 million purple yuan. However, as an official of the imperial court, if he insisted on it, he would probably be in trouble very soon. The reason why Yi Lantian was able to investigate everything was because he did not have many weaknesses that could be used against him. There were no flaws that could be exposed to others. Naturally, there was no problem. In the end, the old man hammered the hammer 3 times. It was a deal. This is really spending 100 million purple yuan? Mu Qingyan could not help but be shocked by Li Zongjio's generosity. Boss, don't tell me you know that you're dying. So you want to spend all this money? Kuan Erishur also looked at Li Zongjio with a touched expression. However, the happiest person was Shueihua. She directly slapped Li Zongjio's shoulder. Good job, you're straightforward. I admire people like you. Li Zongjio looked at Kuan Erishur with an innocent expression. No, I'm just bidding for you. I'm just afraid that you won't be able to do it. Get ready to pay. Before he could finish his sentence, there was a knock on the door. Chapter 428. It's delivered so quickly? Kuan Erishur wasn't even ready yet. Most importantly, he couldn't take out 100 million purple yuan at all. The auction house would definitely require you to pay in cash. 2 women walked in with light steps. When they walked in and saw that there were so many people in the room, one of them obviously had a look in her eyes. Seeing this, Li Zongjio couldn't help but sneer. May I ask who bought the heavenly fragrance drunken moonstone? The final transaction price was 100 million purple yuan. Thank you for your patronage. The person walking behind him lowered his head and presented the tray in his hand. After removing the red cloth on top, a pure white jade stone was revealed in front of everyone. It was the heavenly fragrance drunken moonstone from the auction house. However, when everyone saw the heavenly fragrance drunken moonstone, they immediately felt a splitting headache. Not good. Emosuli's eyes shone brightly. A protective jade on his chest lit up, preventing him from being bewitched by the heavenly fragrance drunken moonstone. Just as Emosuli woke up, he saw the 2 women's figures turn into afterimages. Boom! The afterimages rumbled and stabbed straight at Li Zongjio. Be careful! Emosuli cried out in alarm. However, Li Zongjio sat still on the spot. After all, there were so many people around. If he directly smashed them with a hammer, it would be too bloody and would damage his image. It was better to wait for them to come closer and then break their necks. In Li Zongjio's opinion, this was already an extremely benevolent method. However, before the 2 women's attacks reached Li Zongjio, a long spear stretched out. Boom! On the long spear, a vast fluctuation of yuan power spread out. It directly blocked the 2 women. The Kuan wing spear bloomed with light, like 2 blades, and directly broke the daggers in the hands of the 2 women. What? The 2 women were extremely shocked. They didn't expect Kuan Erishur to wake up so quickly. Immediately, one of them pounced at Kuan Erishur, wanting to use her body to block Kuan Erishur. The other person continued to attack Li Zongjio. Die! The person who approached didn't give up and stabbed the dagger in her hand. However, it was easily caught by Li Zongjio's 2 fingers. With a flick of his finger, yuan power suddenly left his hand and penetrated the woman's shoulder. Boom! The female assassin's figure flew out and fell to the ground. Boom! The moment he landed, he saw the female assassin throw an iron ball in her hand. The iron ball instantly exploded, producing countless smoke. In the face of this smoke, even his mental strength was temporarily affected. Want to run? Li Zongjio's figure disappeared in an instant. How could a mere camouflage escape Li Zongjio's eyes? This little trick was possible in front of some rookies, but it was absolutely impossible in front of Li Zongjio. His figure flashed out. He caught up with the woman in an instant. The woman, who was covering her injured shoulder, was shocked when she saw Li Zongjiu appear. She didn't expect Li Zongjiu to catch up with her so quickly. At this time, she was at her wit's end. In front of Li Zongjiu, she didn't need to waste her strength at all. She was only in the realm of great swordsmen, so she was naturally at Li Zongjiu's mercy. With a slap, the woman was sent flying back to the private room she had been in earlier. At this time, there was already a corpse lying on the ground. Kuan Erisher only managed to control the other party, but he didn't have time to prevent the latter from taking poison and committing suicide. When Kuan Erisher shook the person away, he saw the latter fall to the ground. She was the one who rushed out to sacrifice herself. Now that she had completed her mission, there were so many people in the room. Even if she wanted to escape, she didn't have a chance because the powder of rosemary that was added to the counterfeit would evaporate quickly. Emosuli and the others didn't expect these people to act so quickly. Who sent the killers that suddenly appeared? If Kuan Erisher didn't react in time and stop these people, there might have been a few more murders. Dead. Kuan Erisher checked the corpse on the ground. Everyone also gathered, looking at the woman who was beaten back by Li Zongjiu and was still breathing. We will enforce justice on behalf of the heavens, for the country and for the people. As her voice fell, everyone knew that this woman was preparing to take poison and commit suicide. However, Li Zongjiu directly kicked out. The woman directly fainted from the kick. This kick really didn't have the slightest bit of mercy. In fact, Li Zongjiu had already held back. Otherwise, this kick could directly kick a person's head and make it explode without a problem. They've all been brainwashed, these pitiful people. Li Zongjiu shook his head. With this bit of strength, they still wanted to enforce justice on behalf of the heavens, for the country and for the people. They were simply retarded. Including the 7 that were taken care of in the toilet, there were a total of 9 assassins who came to take Li Zongjiu's life. How Shueiyue? Mu Qingyan also woke up, but Shueiyue was still unconscious. Because at the very beginning, these people were the closest to Shueiyu and inhaled most of the fragrance of the rosemary. However, the rosemary didn't cause much harm to them, and only caused them to fall into a deep sleep. Looking at Shueiyu lying on the bench, it was easy to tell. She's fine, she's just asleep. After Emosuli checked for a while, he took out a coat and covered Shueiyue. This was not only to prevent her from catching a cold, but also to prevent her from doing anything strange while sleeping in front of that man. You, what's going on? Zhao Jingxian personally brought the sky fragrance drunken moonstone. No matter how much trouble Li Zongjiu brought to him, as long as he could bring money, then he was a good friend of the Zhao family. Therefore, Li Zongjiu and the others were generous and directly used 100 million purple yuan to auction this thing that was only worth 3 million purple yuan. Their Zhao family directly made a lot of money just by taking the handling fee. But when Zhao Jingxian walked in, he saw a dead person on the ground, and another was kicked to the side. His face was swollen, and from the looks of it, he was probably half dead. Although in this kind of situation, there were often rich disciples who would play some tricks, and sometimes things would happen. It was obviously not the case in this private room. Zhao Jingxian, if you don't want to sell this thing, you don't have to find an assassin. Get ready to kill all of us. Kuan Erisher suddenly snorted and said, they came because they were invited by Zhao Jingxian, but now that they met an assassin at this banquet, Zhao Jingxian naturally couldn't absolve himself from the blame. Everyone don't worry. I, Zhao Jingxian, guarantee that this matter absolutely has nothing to do with our Zhao family. However, our Zhao family will definitely give you an explanation. Zhao Jingshuan's reaction was also very fast. Combining the previous situation with the news that Zhao Jingxian had already received, there were 4 corpses in the direction of the outhouse, and the scene had obviously been cleaned up. There might be more than 4 corpses. However, no one knew the identity of these people. With such great magical powers, there must be someone behind this. Now that they encountered a situation like today, Zhao Jingxian had to put the pieces together. Someone actually dared to sabotage them secretly. If the person in the outhouse was also Li Zongjiu, It meant that someone was targeting Li Zongjio and the others. If not, it must be a random massacre. And it wasn't good news for the Zhao family. Looking at the expressions of the people in the room, they still hadn't changed. In the end, Zhao Jingxian gritted his teeth. Since this thing is what you like, I will make the decision to give it to you as a small compensation. As for this matter, Zhao Jingxian will definitely clarify it for you. Hearing this, the expressions of the few people relaxed a little. In particular, Kuan Erishur was already laughing in his heart. However, on the surface, he looked as if he was a magnanimous person. All right, you have to investigate this matter properly. If it weren't for our skills today, I reckon that we would have gone down long ago. This thing is at most a stopper. Kuan Erishur took the item without any hesitation and kept the sky fragrance moonstone. Zhao Jingxian naturally didn't have to be polite. He didn't expect that he didn't even have to pay a single cent in the end. If that was the case, he should be thanking these assassins. He needed a few more of such assassins. Men, take these 2 assassins away. Zhao Jingxian saw that the mood of the few people had calmed down and was about to get to work. Although the Zhao family was a business family, how could they not have some background if they were able to survive in the Holy Flame Royal City? If they were really here to cause trouble, they would be sent back in a matter of minutes. Furthermore, because of these 2 assassins, the Zhao family had directly lost 100 million yuan today. Since the Sky Fragrance Drunken Moonstone had already been auctioned for a price other than the buyer, the seller also had to give an explanation. All of this had to be notarized. Even Zhao Jingxian couldn't change the price at will. Therefore, Zhao Jingxian had to fork out 100 million yuan himself. However, in order to reduce the impact of this matter, he had to compensate. Otherwise, if something like this happened, it would be a huge blow to the Zhao family. Li Zongjio didn't say anything. Even if he took them away, he might not be able to get much out of them. Even if he did, there was nothing he could do. If he were to ask Yi Lantian's men, these people would probably panic even more. However, this matter had nothing to do with Li Zongjio. Chapter 429. Elder Fu returned to Yi Lantian's side. He was not in a good mood. They failed too, right? Yi Lantian said calmly. Such a situation was expected. If Li Zongjio could be dealt with so easily, it would be impossible for him to survive until now. He must have his own ability to survive until now. Don't worry, master. Elder Fu could only use this sentence to comfort her. As for other guarantees, they had no effect at all. Li Zongjio. Yi Lantian could not help but say. Yi Lantian could not help but say. Naturally, he was not worried that there was no way to deal with Li Zongjio. No matter what, only death awaited Li Zongjio. Now, Yi Lantian was only playing a game. Based on the current situation, Li Zongjio was just a game. Yi Lantian wanted to see how far Li Zongjio could go. Even if Shadow Fox failed, there would still be other people who would appear. A series of fatal pursuits would definitely be able to eliminate Li Zongjio. Let's continue watching the auction. It seems to be quite interesting. The corners of Yi Lantian's mouth curled up into a smile. They were just some hopping grasshoppers. They were not a threat. Twig. The door of Yi Lantian's room was pushed open. Then a figure walked in. When they saw the person, Yi Lantian and Elder Fu were both shocked. Who allowed you to come in? Are you courting death? Elder Fu said in a deep voice. A young man stood at the door. The young man hung a do not disturb sign on the door, and then closed the door. Then he looked at the person in front of him. You've visited me so many times. As a courtesy, of course, I'll pay you a visit, Li Zongjio said with a smile. Then she looked around as if nothing had happened. She found a seat and sat down right across from Yi Lantian. Li Zongjio actually dared to walk into his territory alone. From the looks of it, it seemed like he was here to intimidate him. At this moment, Yi Lantian was shocked. He sized up the young man in front of him with interest. The more he looked at him, the more he found him interesting. It was rare to see such a bold young man these days. You are very courageous. Such an outstanding young man is very rare, Yi Lantian said with admiration. You too. In this day and age, there aren't many people like you who aren't afraid of death. But your family with the surname Yi is basically one more fearless than the other. Don't you think it's interesting? Li Zongjio said. He poured himself a cup of tea and drank it. Hearing Li Zongjio's words, Yi Lantian's eyes suddenly darkened. He could hear the hidden meaning in Li Zongjio's words. What did he mean by one more fearless than the other? Could it be that this Li Zongjio knew something? There's no need to guess. I killed your 2 sons and your daughter. I killed them all. Yi Lantian was shocked, and even a little stunned. When he saw Li Zongjio's half-smile, and even a mocking smile, his heart was even more shocked. The deaths of Yi Guxing and the others were actually related to Li Zongjio. According to Li Zongjio's words, he killed both of them. Not only that, he also killed Yi Ruhan. How is this possible? After Yi Guxing got into trouble, he sent He Tu to protect Yi Guyue. It was impossible for Li Zongjio to do it alone. He Tu was a genuine Yuan monarch elite. How could he be killed so easily? Did Li Zongjio really think that Yuan monarchs were pushovers? Elder Fu had already stood up, and a sharp murderous intent locked onto Li Zongjio. Even if this person wasn't killed by Li Zongjio, he should still be beheaded by He Shou for bringing up this matter to ridicule him. Punishment was not something that could be made as a joke. You killed them? Haha, then I've really found the right person. Tell me who ordered you. Who's behind you? Tell me and I'll spare your life. Yi Lantian sneered as he looked at Li Zongjio. Old master, there's no need to go through so much trouble. Let me capture this person and peel off a layer of his skin before interrogating him properly. At that time, he'll confess everything. Elder Fu said coldly. He was already prepared. But the old master had not given the order yet, so he had to bide his time for the time being. The old master had not given the order yet, so if he acted rashly, he would not be giving the old master any face. You kill him now and pledge your loyalty to me. Then I can spare your life. I can spare your life, Li Zongjio said indifferently as he looked at Elder Fu. This is your last chance. Li Zongjio's gaze was extremely serious. He did not look like he was joking at all. Yi Lantian and Elder Fu exchanged glances. If they did not know that Li Zongjio was somewhat capable, they would even think that Li Zongjio was crazy. Shameless boasting. At this point, there was no need to wait any longer. In that case, there was no need to wait any longer. Old Fu immediately let out a low roar, and there seemed to be an extremely powerful yuan power fluctuation between his palms. The yuan power in his palms directly turned into an ice blade. The moment the frost blade appeared, he saw a ray of light appear behind him. However, this power had been hidden very well. However, a fishtail suddenly appeared behind Old Fu. You're at the Yuan King realm, yet you're not even proficient in hiding your spirit. I'm afraid that your cultivation has been wasted on a dog. Li Zongjio immediately sneered. The thunder profound hammer appeared in his hand, and suddenly smashed towards Elder Fu. Boom! A terrifying power spread out, but Elder Fu did not panic. A mere move was nothing to him. It's enough to kill you. Boom! Cold ice chi blade swept out, and chopped at the thunder profound hammer. The thunder profound hammer was shaken and sent flying. Just after this move, the flying knife was seen shuttling back and forth. Previously, the flying knife was also hidden under the mysterious lightning hammer. Although the mysterious lightning hammer was blown away, the flying knife successfully rushed out. Whoosh! Not good. Elder Fu immediately discovered this flying knife, and the target of this flying knife was actually Yi Lantian, who was sitting behind him. Yi Lantian immediately sat behind him, indifferent to the battle in front of him. He was also confident in Ah Fu's strength. After many years of understanding, if even Ah Fu could not deal with him, then there was really no need to escape. Elder Fu's figure moved and blocked in front of Yi Lantian. The origin spirit power around his body condensed. Immediately, it protected Yi Lantian and himself. A mermaid's figure appeared behind Old Fu. This thing was also the origin spirit power of Elder Fu. Extremely cold mermaid? You're really empty-handed. You actually refined such a trash origin spirit. Li Zongjio immediately said disdainfully. Facing the vast flying knife that was blocked, he directly stretched out his hand and pushed. Terrifying mental strength immediately supported the flying knife, and it rushed forward. The mermaid behind the old man also seemed to be suffering, and at this moment, she also roared in a low voice. Fortunately, the isolation of the VIP seats was done well. Otherwise, it would have attracted the guards of the auction. Of course, the reason why it was able to do so was because Li Zhongjiu had set up an isolation talisman at the door. With this talisman, even if an incomparably intense battle broke out in the private room, it would not be discovered by the outside world. What cultivation level does this brat have? Even with the power of a Yuan monarch, it's difficult to resist him. Attack! Elder Fu's heart was shaken, because he had no way of blocking this move in front of him. He could only watch helplessly as the power kept piercing his body. Finally, he watched helplessly as the vast flying knife broke through his origin energy defense and was about to pierce into his body. Finally, Elder Fu roared angrily. Like a fish-piercing soul, the power of the origin spirit immediately wrapped around Yi Lantian. Master, run! Yi Lantian also realized that things were not good. He did not expect that even Elder Fu could not deal with the person in front of him, and seemed to be greatly affected. The power of the origin spirit wrapped around Yi Lantian, and prepared to take him away. Li Zhongjiu also stretched out his hand and waved. Immediately, the space in the VIP seats disappeared, and what appeared was a world filled with blood. Blood Soul Realm. Li Zhongjiu summoned the Blood Soul Realm, and wrapped the two of them inside. What? A trace of fear immediately appeared in Elder Fu's eyes. In the next second, he raised his head and saw a blood dragon descending from the sky. With a claw, it directly chopped off Elder Fu's head. Boom! A head rolled to the ground. Yi Lantian was shocked when he saw this. Ah Fu, who had been by his side for so many years, was beheaded so easily. Now that Li Zhongjiu had reached the peak of the origin ancestor realm, whether it was his mental strength or origin power, they were all at this level. It was not difficult for him to kill a Yuan King elite. The many methods he had were also numb to killing people. He could easily kill them. So you're also afraid of death. That's right. When your two sons died, one was worse than the other. Oh right, I also recorded it for you to enjoy. As he spoke, Li Zhongjiu stretched out his hand, and threw out 3 crystal stones. When the crystal stones appeared, they automatically released a ray of light. One could see that some images were being played in the light. This was a photographic stone. It was something that could be recorded by the light of the scene. When Li Zhongjiu killed Yi Lonyue and the other two, he recorded their miserable state. It was to give Yi Lantian such a gift. Yi Lantian looked at the images that were being played in the photographic stone. He saw with his own eyes how his sons died helplessly in front of him. The way they begged for mercy, and even looked like they did not know what was good for them, immediately made Yi Lantian understand that Li Zhongjiu was clearly a demon. You dare to kill me? I am an important official of the imperial court. My Yi family has been an official of the imperial court for generations. If you kill me, the imperial court will not let you off. The Shengyan dynasty will not let you off. My Yi family will not let you off either. You're talking about the secret team that you've trained, right? Don't worry. Not a single one of your Yi family members will be missing. They will all go down to accompany you. Li Zhongjiu's eyes flickered with a cold light. At this moment, Yi Lantian was no longer the high and mighty head of the judicial division. Instead, he was an unarmed and lonely old man who could only use soft words to threaten his enemies. Such a threat could even be said to be powerless. Chapter 430. The strange thing was that Yi Lantian had forgotten that this world was ultimately ruled by Yuan Force experts. He was too arrogant and unlucky. He had to offend Li Zhongjiu. If it was someone else, they would not have ended up like this. Li Zhongjiu's dagger easily cut off Yi Lantian's head. The storage ring was taken away. When the door was closed again, no one knew that the important person in the room, the head of the Yi family, Yi Lantian, the head of the Shengyan dynasty's judicial division, had died here. No one dared to believe it. If this news were to spread, it would definitely be an earth-shattering event. Li Zhongjiu. In the corridor, a figure stared at Li Zhongjiu from a short distance away. This person was shrouded in a black robe from head to toe. An icy aura was emitted from his body, causing people to shiver in fear. Although there was light in the corridor, all the light around him seemed to have been devoured. His entire person was immersed in darkness. Li Zongjie saw the other party. He originally wanted to attack and take down the person in front of him. However, he realized something and retracted his killing intent. After knocking on the door, he retreated and disappeared. Trying to run, the corners of Yinghu's mouth curled into a cold smile. In front of the shadow fox, no prey had ever been able to escape. Boom! Just as Yinghu passed by Yi Lantian's door, a violent explosion suddenly rang out. Even Yinghu was affected by the shockwave. His body suddenly retreated and landed to the side. Who is it? There were guards from the Zhao family patrolling this area. Damn it, I've been tricked. Yinghu immediately dashed into the distance. Where do you think you're going? Zhao Quan shouted angrily. With the terrifying strength of a Yuan king, he charged towards Yinghu. In the end, Yinghu had no choice but to rush into Yi Lantian's private room. When he saw the head that was placed on the table, Shadow Fox's expression changed drastically. Zhao Quan's aura surged, and nothing in the room could hide from him. At the same time, Zhao Quan also saw the bloody head on the table. This insolent thief, hand over your life. Naturally, Yinghu would not allow himself to be captured without putting up a fight. He broke through the roof and fled out of the joyous heavenly restaurant. Just as Zhao Quan was about to give chase, a terrifying mental power descended from the sky and turned into a huge palm, crushing towards him. Left with no choice, he retreated with a loud bang. Elemental energy enveloped his body. However, the mental strength that suddenly appeared was too tyrannical. It directly pressed Zhao Quan onto the floor. With a loud bang, the floor beneath him collapsed. The people who were in the middle of the auction also heard the loud noise. In the hall below the VIP seats, when they saw the ceiling suddenly collapse, it caused a lot of commotion. Elder Zhao Quan flipped his body and stood up. Ignoring the chaos in the surroundings, he immediately roared in the direction of the fleeing shadow fox. Chase after him. Don't let him escape. Zhao Quan angrily reprimanded. Due to the sudden appearance of the mental strength obstruction, Zhao Quan felt threatened. Now that he had broken free from the mental strength obstruction, the first thing he had to do was to find the person who used the mental strength. Looking at the people around him, Zhao Quan did not notice anything strange. However, there were so many people present, and they were all looking at Zhao Quan with a shocked expression. They were all fine and dandy when Zhao Quan suddenly descended from the sky and gave them a fright. If it were not for the fact that some of them reacted quickly, they would have been crushed under him. Seeing this, the Zhao family's guards quickly rushed over and quickly took control of the situation. Everyone, this auction will end early. The auction will be closed, and everyone will only be allowed to leave after their identities are verified. Zhao Quan said in a deep voice. The elder on the stage also realized the seriousness of this matter. After a series of confirmations, the Zhao family began to operate. The only person who did not speak was Zhao Quan. The seriousness of this matter had already exceeded his imagination. Elder? This? Zhao Jingxian came in front of Zhao Quan. The change in the situation was somewhat unexpected. How could something like this happen in such a short time? From the looks of it, Elder Zhao Quan seemed to have suffered a lot just now. You quickly go and ask the family head to come here. Also, report to the Special Envoy Department that a major murder has occurred here. For a moment, Zhao Quan did not know how to describe the current situation. He could only try to stabilize the situation first. A murder has occurred. The matter of the two assassins from before had yet to reach Zhao Quan. Could it be that this elder already knew about it? But if it was just two assassins, then it wouldn't be a big problem. Zhao Jingxian had already suppressed this matter for the time being. Now that Zhao Quan's face was so serious, it was obvious that something more serious had happened. That was why he was so flustered. Zhao Jingxian immediately turned around and prepared to leave, but Zhao Quan stopped him once again. Take my token and go quickly. Zhao Quan directly threw the elder's token to Zhao Jingxian. Now Zhao Jingxian knew what was going on. This was definitely a matter of life and death. Immediately, Zhao Jingxian broke into a run. In the private room, Li Zongjie had just returned not long ago, and such a situation had already happened outside. The few of them were also at a loss as to what was going on. Li Zhongjiu took less than 5 minutes to kill Yi Lantian. It was very difficult to arouse suspicion. What's going on outside? Kuan Erisher and the others looked down. It seemed to have caused quite a commotion. Someone died. Li Zhongjiu said indifferently. These people wanted to fight with Li Zhongjiu. Obviously they were too inexperienced. What assassins? What judges? In Li Zhongjiu's eyes, they were just stumbling blocks. How could they affect Li Zhongjiu? Therefore, when he attacked, he did not hold back at all. When he was free, he would make a trip to the Yi family. Although Yi Lantian was dead, among those who remained, there was no lack of people who could hold power. Since Li Zhongjiu had already decided to destroy the Yi family, he would definitely not let the Yi family have any signs of prosperity. When cutting weeds, he had to dig up the roots. Someone died? Who died? Shueiyue, who woke up from her daze, also blinked her eyes and looked at the situation around her in a daze. What's going on? Why am I here? Obviously, the scene of Shueiyue fainting from the poison earlier was also a matter of time for her to recover. It's probably some kind of revenge. Someone actually chose to make a move at this auction. That's interesting, Mu Qingyan said. Then she glanced at Li Zhongjiu. Although the time when Li Zhongjiu walked out was calm, Mu Qingyan could also see that when Li Zhongjiu walked out, there was an additional murderous aura on his body. There was a slight change in the aura on his body. This matter was definitely related to Li Zhongjiu. Very soon, a large number of people from the Special Envoy Department came. After Zhao Quan went forward and handed over the information, the people from the Special Envoy Department were all shocked. Seal off the joyous heavenly restaurant. No one is allowed to enter or leave. In addition, the entire city is to hunt down one person. The special envoy who came to receive the information immediately gave the order to seal off the joyous heavenly restaurant. No one was allowed to enter or leave. At the same time, this matter was reported. Chapter 431. Seeing that a large number of special envoys had arrived at the scene to take over, many people who were complaining also calmed down at this moment. Originally, if it was only the Zhao clan who took action, they would definitely be properly taught a lesson. Just based on the Zhao clan alone, it was impossible for them to restrict their actions. Therefore, they were all extremely arrogant. However, now that the envoys had accepted the case, the situation had changed. Even if they had some ability, they would not dare to be arrogant now. They could only sit obediently in their seats. Miss, the situation seems to be quite serious. Song Ji frowned. What was the Zhao family up to? However, seeing that the envoys had arrived, and there were even many other envoys who were quickly arriving, the situation seemed to be very serious. Miss, isn't that Commander Han Wuxia? Han Wuxia. He had interacted with Song Ji before. After all, they were both at the same age and at the same level. Therefore, it was normal for them to have heard of each other. Previously, they had asked Commander Han Wuxia to handle some matters in the 7-star fire room. Now that Han Wuxia had appeared, they understood the seriousness of the matter. However, at least everyone knew each other, and they would not deliberately make things difficult for you. Otherwise, the situation would be similar to this. They did not even know what had happened. If the situation was very serious, even if Song Ji was here, it was inevitable that they would treat her with some extreme treatment. They would not be polite to her. Since there were people who knew each other, it would be easier to handle. However, even Han Wuxia had personally come. It seemed to be far from enough. Soon, they saw another person standing at the side, waiting for someone to come. This time it was someone who came. It was Su Yan, the Deputy Minister of the Special Envoy Department, Su Yan. Similarly, Su Yan's face was also solemn. However, in comparison, Su Yan's solemn expression seemed to be directed at this matter, and there wasn't much panic on his face. His expression seemed to be different from the rest of the envoys. Seeing this scene, Song Ji tapped her fingers and glanced at the location of the private room upstairs. If it was just an ordinary murder case, Su Yan would not have personally come. However, even Su Yan had come, and it seemed that this matter was not over yet. Not long after, another figure arrived in a hurry. The people who came this time were even more shocking. At the same time, they realized that something extraordinary had happened in the Zhao family's joyous heavenly restaurant. Since it happened now, it was too terrifying. What? Isn't that? Oh my God. Even Sima, even the head of the Special Envoy Department is here. Oh my God. Could it be that the head of the Zhao clan died here? Even if the entire Zhao family is dead, it's impossible for the head of the Special Envoy Department to come personally. It must be someone even more important. When Song Jiu saw Sima Shengyan walk in, she confirmed her guess. How is this possible? This kind of thing? How could it happen again? This is impossible. The maidservant beside her could not help but be a little surprised when she saw her miss in such a flustered state. When had she ever seen her miss in such a state? She was so distracted and seemed to be in disbelief about what was happening in front of her. Miss, what happened? This is the first time I've seen you like this. Don't talk anymore. Just wait patiently. Song Jiu instantly regained her senses. At this moment, the identity of the deceased was gradually revealed. As long as one was not too blind, one could basically guess who it was that dared to be so bold, and even succeeded. In the private room, when Mu Qingyan saw Sima Shengyan appear in the joyous heavenly restaurant, her heart thumped. Then, she looked at Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu, you said that someone died. Who is it? Mu Qingyan asked in a deep voice. At the same time, her gaze was fixed on Li Zongjiu. She wanted to see something from Li Zongjiu's eyes. However, it was an extremely difficult thing to do. Even Mo Suli looked at Li Zongjiu. He also looked at Mu Qingyan. At this moment, Mu Qingyan seemed to have discovered something. That was why she was questioning Li Zongjiu. The one who died is Yilantian. Yilantian. At first, this name sounded a little artistic. However, when they realized what this name represented, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Even Kuan Erisher stood up from his seat. What? Yilantian is dead. Fuck, this is karma. At first glance, I knew that guy was a short-lived ghost. However, I didn't expect him to die so quickly. It's really fucking timely. Kuan Erisher suddenly said. He knew about the conflict between Li Zongjiu and the Yi family. However, at this moment, Kuan Erisher did not think too much about it. In fact, he did not even dare to think about it. He never thought that the person who killed Yilantian was Li Zongjiu. After all, Li Zongjiu had an alibi. At that time, Li Zongjiu had already returned. When he left, it had only been 5 or 6 minutes. How could it be possible to kill Yilantian in such a short time? One had to know that Yilantian had a Yuan King-level powerhouse by his side. Did he think that Yuan King-level powerhouses were made of paper? This was why Kuan Erisher was so excited when he concluded that it had nothing to do with Li Zongjiu. Kuan Erisher, you can't say this carelessly. Li Zongjiu, how did you know that the one who died was Yilantian? Mu Qingyan said. I just happened to see it when I went to the outhouse. Li Zongjiu said. Although the dignified evil lord was not afraid of trouble, it was better to have less trouble. Li Zongjiu also used his brain to roam the underworld. He was not a fool who had a one-track mind. It was as if he was invincible after becoming strong, and could go anywhere. In reality, that was not the case. Li Zongjiu had lived for 3,000 years in his previous life. In the first 2,500 years of being at the pinnacle, he was also threatened with his life. There were many who were stronger than Li Zongjiu. It was normal for them not to want to let you live an easy life. Such things would never be too little. Getting rid of a person with potential might be directly getting rid of a strong enemy in the future. Therefore, there were many geniuses, and very few people who were successful. The fact that Li Zongjiu could survive under the influence of the long river of history was not simple in itself. In just a few words, he had completely removed himself from this matter. Even Mu Qingyan couldn't find any flaws in his story. In fact, Mu Qingyan also knew that it was impossible for Li Zongjiu to do this. After all, the difference in strength was obvious. Chapter 432. Let's go. Since the auction can't be held anymore, there's no need to stay here any longer. Li Zongjiu stood up and said. At the same time, He drank all the water in his cup on the table. Go. Now that there's martial law outside, it won't be so easy to leave, Mu Qingyan said. They didn't see it. Everyone stayed where they were and didn't move. They didn't even complain. Before Sima Shengyan and Su Yan arrived, some people could still ignore these people because of their status. However, after the two of them arrived, they didn't care about these people. They had no choice but to behave themselves. Otherwise, they could easily come up with a reason to arrest them. The head of the Zhao family had also rushed over. Many big shots had already arrived. If they were to sit still and wait to be interrogated, they might be able to leave faster. But according to the way the Special Envoy Department handled things, and the seriousness of this matter, they probably wouldn't be able to leave in a short time. I, Li Zongjie, want to leave. Who dares to stop me? Li Zongjie said faintly. The confidence that he exuded from his body had shocked everyone. Mo Suli's eyes revealed a faint approval. Although Mu Qingyan was also a responsible person, she wasn't very decisive in dealing with many things. Li Zongjie, on the other hand, had a fearless feeling, and even had his own arrogance. This was the so-called manliness. Li Zongjie had never put Mo Suli and the others in his eyes. At first, Mo Suli thought that Li Zongjie did it on purpose. But now, it seemed that Li Zongjie indeed had such a temper. This made Mo Suli a little surprised. There was actually someone who couldn't be charmed by his charm. At the very least, they should have taken a few more glances at him. I'll go too. Kuan Erisher stood up excitedly and followed behind Li Zongjie. Such a boss was really too cool. It was not a big deal to kill someone, but after killing someone, he still wanted to swagger out of the cordoned-off scene. Such behavior made Lan Kuan admire him to death. And from this point, it could be seen that Kuan Erisher himself was not a very well-behaved person. If something happened, he would not be wretched at all. He would even sharpen his head and drill forward. It seems fun. I'll go too. I'll go too. Shueihua seemed to have heard something in her daze. She stood up excitedly and followed behind Kuan Erisher and Li Zongjie. Shueihua, you don't cause trouble. If you go out now, you will definitely be put in a difficult position. Mu Qingyan saw that Shueihua was also about to jump into the fire pit. If they went out, they would definitely be in big trouble. For a little girl like Shueihua, this was definitely not a good thing. The two boys were thick-skinned. If they went out, they would be beaten up a little and be released. However, Shueihua was different. But we didn't do anything bad. Why can't we go? Shueihua seemed to admire Li Zongjie and Kuan Erisher. Shueihua was also particularly close to Li Zongjie. After all, she also needed Li Zongjie's help. You three are courting death. Mu Qingyan wanted to stop them, but she was powerless. Obviously, these people did not know the methods of the special envoys. Now, Mu Qingyan could only stay here temporarily. If something happened in a while, she would come out and give them some face. She didn't know if the final effect would be enough. Stop, the three of you. Who allowed you to walk? As soon as the three of them walked down the stairs, they were directly stopped by a special envoy. The commotion immediately attracted the attention of the other special envoys. Since there was a strange movement, they naturally had to investigate. They wanted to see who had the guts to act recklessly in such a situation. Zhao Jingxian was also accompanying Elder Zhao Quan and the others, explaining the previous situation. The special envoy was also recording in detail. Suddenly, he heard someone talking at the side. It seemed like someone was about to leave. Which idiot? If he wants to leave at this time, isn't he saying that I'm a ghost? Zhao Jingxian thought in his heart. However, as the crowd moved, Zhao Jingxian directly saw an old man appear in his line of sight. Fuck, why is it this old man again? Is it my day today? At this moment, Zhao Jingxuan's heart was filled with regret. One had to know that when Li Zongjie and Yi Lantian had a conflict at the entrance, it directly made Zhao Jingxian want to die on the spot. However, in the blink of an eye, Yi Lantian was actually dead. Although the situation had become more serious, at least no one would find trouble with Li Zongjie. And now what was this guy doing? Could it be that after provoking Yi Lantian, he wanted to touch Sima Xingyan's beard? Wuxia, go and see what's going on, Su Yan said. His brows furrowed. If there was a problem, He should have just dealt with it directly. Who would have thought that there would be such a big commotion? Yes, sir. Han Wuxiu immediately walked towards Li Zongjio and the others. When Han Wuxiu saw Li Zongjio for the first time, he knew that Li Zongjio was not simple. Han Wuxiu had faced some extremely vicious people, all kinds of famous bandits. Therefore, he was extremely accurate in identifying people. There were two men and a woman. The woman looked like a silly child who was kidnapped and sold. The other man was this guy's subordinate. This was the preliminary conclusion. What's the situation? Han Wuxiu walked to the front. He was a head taller than Li Zongjio, but he did not first ask Li Zongjio. Instead, he asked the standing envoys beside him. Commander, these three people wanted to leave, but we stopped them. They were unwilling to cooperate and caused a commotion. The standing envoy said respectfully. Han Wuxiu understood the situation and waved his hand. The standing envoy stood aside and looked at the three people. Although they were surrounded by more than 10 standing envoys, they did not show any signs of panic. Either they had someone backing them up, or they did not have any ulterior motives. Even if they did not have any ulterior motives, they must have someone backing them up, or they were stupid. I am the commander of the Special Envoy Department, Han Wuxiu. Please show me your identification. Han Wuxiu cupped his hands and said. Li Zongjio did not say anything. Kuan Erasure took a step forward. He took out his identification token. We are students of Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Han Wuxiu took the token and looked at it carefully. Then, he handed it back and looked at Li Zongjio. Where is yours? His tone was directed at Li Zongjio. When dealing with people who were not simple, he had to be ruthless. He had to suppress them completely and let them know how powerful he was. Only then would they be obedient and subdued. Everyone had their own nemesis. Han Wuxiu believed that he was the nemesis of these people because he would not be polite to them. I'm afraid that if I take it out, you won't be able to handle it. You might even kneel down. Li Zongjio said indifferently. At the same time, he looked at Han Wuxiu with an indifferent gaze. When Li Zongjio said this, he wasn't bluffing at all. Instead, he was speaking the truth from the bottom of his heart. However, there would always be people who would think that Li Zongjio was pretending to be a pretentious prick. Such pretentious behavior was obviously not a good thing. If you insist on not showing your identity, you will be treated as a suspect. Han Wuxiu did not plan to let Li Zongjio reveal his identity. He wanted to take him down and beat him up first. Take him down, Han Wuxiu ordered. When he made the decision, he was extremely decisive. There was no hesitation at all. Chapter 433. As soon as Han Wuxiu finished speaking, the other special envoys beside him could no longer tolerate Li Zongjio's arrogance. However, Li Zongjio was not afraid at all as he faced these people who rushed towards him. With a casual wave of his hand, he sent the two of them flying away. These special envoys were only grade 1 to grade 3 origin ancestors. How could they be a match for Li Zongjio? How dare you attack the special envoys? You're courting death. Han Wuxiu immediately drew his sword and slashed towards Li Zongjio. Boom! Sword chi surged in Han Wuxiu's hand. Li Zongjio, who was in front of Han Wuxiu, rushed in front of him and grabbed the sword in Han Wuxiu's hand. Han Wuxiu was shocked. In this moment of shock, Li Zongjio had already grabbed Han Wuxiu's sword. You blind thing! Li Zongjio swung his hand and sent Han Wuxiu's sword flying. Then he gave Han Wuxiu a slap. No one dared to believe it. Who would have thought that such a scene would happen? Slap. This slap was crisp and clear. It shocked everyone. The scene seemed to have fallen into silence. 4 fingerprints appeared on Han Wuxiu's face. It was scarlet and eye-catching. No one dared to believe that Han Wuxiu had been beaten up. This son-in-law of the Sima family, who might even become the successor of the Sima family in the future, was also the commander with the most potential and drive in the Special Envoys department. If he continued at this speed, he would be promoted very soon. No matter who it was, they would only want to curry favor with such a promising young man. But now, he had been slapped in the face. How could Han Wuxiu still have any face left in the world? When Zhao Jingxian saw this slap, he felt as if someone had chopped him in half with an axe. Such a situation had already caused Zhao Jingxian to be on the verge of collapse. After all, even Zhao Jingxian was helpless in such a situation. He was powerless to reverse the situation. It turned out that in front of this truly arrogant person, he was so weak and lowly. The arrogance and despotism he had played before was completely like playing a monkey. This was a true hero. Song Jiyu, who was sitting in her seat, saw Li Zongjiu slap Han Wuxiu because of her angle. At that moment, Song Jiyu thought she was dreaming, because such a thing would never happen in reality. How could such a thing happen? Han Wuxiu was a man with a bright future in the Special Envoy Department. He was also one of the most capable men in this generation. The Special Envoy of Iron and Blood was a real cold-faced killer. No prisoner had ever been able to endure 3 days in front of Han Wuxiu. They would definitely confess within 3 days. Even Han Wuxiu himself had outstanding achievements. When he first joined the Special Envoy Department, he had solved a major case and attracted everyone's attention. But now, such a person was slapped in front of Li Zongjiu. Where did that guy come from? At this moment, even Song Jiyu could not help but sigh. What right did Li Zongjiu have to be so fearless, so arrogant and despotic? He was so unreasonable. Han Wuxiu was stunned by the slap. Han Wuxiu naturally knew what he was going through. He was the commander of the Special Envoy Department and the son-in-law of the Sima family. Although he was the son-in-law of the Sima family, he was still a son-in-law and could be considered half a son. Now he was slapped by Li Zongjiu. He did not know that in this huge monarch city, there was no one that he, Han Wuxiu, did not dare to capture or punish. You're courting death. Han Wuxiu immediately unleashed his elemental energy. Li Zongjiu stepped forward and kicked Han Wuxiu's abdomen. A surge of elemental energy penetrated Han Wuxiu's body. Just this move alone was enough for Han Wuxiu to bear. Han Wuxiu's body flew backward and landed heavily on the ground, right in front of Su Yan and the others. Protect, sir. The guards beside him thought that someone had attacked them. When they saw clearly, they saw that it was the commander who had been kicked away and landed on the ground. Commander! All of a sudden many people saw it. Li Zongjiu had actually sent someone flying with a kick. If it was someone else, it wouldn't be a big deal. However, the person he was kicking was none other than Han Wuxiu. Seeing this, the special envoys immediately rushed toward Li Zongjiu. This time, Li Zongjiu did not need to take action. Kuan Arashir stepped forward. Facing the attacks of more than 10 special envoys, Kuan Arashi's moves were skillful and easy. He easily blocked all of them. When he was free, he would also take down a few of them. Stop, who is causing trouble here? Sima Xingyan said in a deep voice. If they were to continue fighting, then his special envoy division's reputation would be completely lost. After all, the one who attacked was only a young man. Their department head was personally here. But he was still killed by the other party. Looking at the people lying on the ground, it was tragic. More than 10 of them could not even defeat one person. And in front of Sima Xingyan. Of course, Sima Xingyan felt ashamed. Some of the special envoys retreated with bruises on their faces. Han Wuxiu, who was lying on the ground, was also helped up. He was actually unable to move after being kicked by Li Zongjiu. Han Wuxiu felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. This was simply inconceivable. Could Li Zongjiu be a Yuan monarch elite? Only a Yuan monarch elite would be able to unleash such power with a single kick. Sir, there must be something wrong with these 3 people. Han Wuxiu clutched his abdomen. His face was ashen. Obviously, the pain was unbearable. At this moment, a middle-aged man beside Sima Xingyan stepped forward and patted Han Wuxiu's shoulder twice. This made Han Wuxiu's situation a little better. However, the red mark on his face was deliberately left by Li Zongjiu. Therefore, it would be difficult for it to disappear in a short period of time. Department Head Sima. These 3 are students of Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. The leader is a newly promoted Imperial Alchemist. Imperial Alchemist. A ray of light flashed in Sima Xingyan's eyes. Recently, the Imperial bestowal had caused quite a stir. A few days ago, Mengyu, who had participated in the alchemy competition, was actually killed by a wild beast on his way back. Of course, according to the situation at the scene, The person who had attacked that day must have been someone else. Han Wuxia also understood Li Zhongjiu's identity at this moment. He was actually the legendary imperial alchemist. Although this was only a token issued under the supervision of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion, it was indeed a third-grade position. In terms of official position, it was indeed higher than Han Wuxia's. Chapter 434. Translator. Hingyi Translations Editor. Hingyi Translations. However, everyone knew that Han Wuxia's identity was not as simple as a commander. Li Zhongjiu's slap on Han Wuxia's face was actually a slap on Sima Xingyan's face. Sima Xingyan was someone who had once fought against Yilantian. If Sima Xingyan had not divided the world with Yilantian, the outside world would have long become Yilantian's world. Therefore, Sima Xingyan also had the power to shout and fight. This could be seen from this point. As the saying goes, a new broom sweeps clean. It was a pity that Li Zhongjiu had bumped into the muzzle of a gun today. Originally, Sima Xingyan was prepared to teach this brat a lesson. If it was any other time, it would be fine. After all, he was an imperial alchemist. If he offended him, it would seem that he was making an enemy of Emperor Xingyan. Usually, he would not do such a stupid thing. However, Li Zhongjiu was too arrogant, so Sima Xingyan decided to take down these three youths first. I understand. Sima Xingyan took a step forward. Naturally, his expression was very bad. The reason why Zhao Jingxian stepped forward and said this was because he wanted Sima Xingyan to give him a way out. However, this was obviously impossible. The head of the Zhao family pulled Zhao Jingxian back. What are you doing? Do I need you to talk too much? The head of the Zhao family glared fiercely at Zhao Jingxian. After all, Zhao Jingshuan's actions were equivalent to Sima Xingyan telling him to be careful. Now Yilantian's head had been confirmed. Then Sima Xingyan was the person who could cover the sky with one hand in Holy Yan City. There was no problem for him to do anything. At this moment, he was naturally the person with the greatest power. Even the previous judge would not be able to defeat Sima Xingyan in a short period of time. And Zhao Jingshuan's actions were simply extremely stupid in front of a discerning person. Zhao Jingxian lowered his head and stopped talking. He was just taking a risk. In fact, the reason why Zhao Jingxian said that was because he was worried that Li Zhongjiu would beat up Sima Xingyan as well. According to Zhao Jingshuan's previous interactions, there was nothing that Li Zhongjiu couldn't do. Therefore, he had to be careful. However, when Sima Xingyan led a group of people and walked in front of Li Zhongjiu was stunned. Just as he was about to angrily rebuke, he suddenly saw the woman behind Li Zhongjiu and Kuan Erishur. Why did this woman look so familiar? Instantly, Sima Xingyan was puzzled. When he saw the woman in front of him, Sima Xingyan thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him. However, when he took a closer look, even though they only looked a little similar, he could not be wrong. After thinking about the recent situation, it seemed that there was indeed some gossip about the person who had left the palace. After seeing it at this moment, Sima Xingyan was even more shocked. He actually got involved with this master. Why did this master appear here at such a critical time? But no matter what, one had to know that he absolutely could not be offended. What? Did he want to do things on this master's head? That was simply courting death. Sima Xingyan's brain was also extremely fast. After seeing that the situation was not right, he immediately stepped forward. The three of you can leave now. As soon as Sima Xingyan said this, everyone could not react. Just now he was not aggressive. From the looks of it, it would not be strange at all if he rushed up and killed his entire family. At this moment, he actually said that they could leave, and let them leave directly. What the hell was going on? Li Zhongjiu naturally did not care about what Sima Xingyan saw. However, Li Zhongjiu glanced at Shuiyu behind him, and could roughly guess what was going on. Although Shuiyu looked a little silly, Shuiyu did not reveal her true identity. In fact, Shuiyu was wearing a yuan tool. This yuan tool could help change one's appearance and aura. This was something that Li Zhongjiu already knew, but he was not interested. However, now it seemed that Shuiyu's identity was not simple. She could actually scare Sima Xingyan away. Let's go. After that, Li Zhongjiu and the other two swaggered out. This was a scene that no one expected. Song Jiyu and the other two widened their eyes as they watched Li Zhongjiu and the other two swagger out of the joyous heavenly restaurant. They were even more shocked. How many secrets did Li Zhongjiu have? Who exactly was he? In front of Sima Xingyan, he violently beat up the surrounding envoys. At the same time, he even slapped Han Wuxia's face. How many people in the world could be so arrogant and not give Sima Xingyan any face at all? It was really too terrifying. Li Zhongjiu's identity and background must be very different. After we go back, investigate Li Zhongjiu's identity properly. Many people did not know Li Zhongjiu's name and identity, but Song Jiyu recognized him. This was relatively more advantageous. Previously, when they saw Li Zhongjiu and Yi Lantian competing outside, Yi Lantian was still polite to him in the end. At first, they thought that this was just the calm before the storm, but now it seemed that Li Zhongjiu was definitely not simple. Minister this. When Han Wuxia saw Li Zhongjiu and the others leave, he immediately widened his eyes. Why would Sima Xingyan help an outsider? This simply did not make sense. Alright, they are not suspects. Let's hurry up and get down to business. It's not a good idea to detain so many people here, Sima Xingyan said. This was a fair sentence. Then Sima Xingyan left with his people. Of course, there was no need for Sima Xingyan to deal with this. He specially rushed over to verify with his own eyes whether the person who was killed was Yi Lantian or not. Now that the verification was clear, he was in a good mood. Naturally, he was incomparably happy. It was just a son-in-law who was beaten up. Even if his son was beaten up today, he would not do anything or do anything. Yes, Minister. Although he was slapped, he couldn't pull his father-in-law's sleeves and complain in public. At this moment, he could only bite the bullet and continue to work under such circumstances. What are you looking at? All of you, go and verify your identity. Everyone present must have a clear identity. If there is anything unclear, immediately detain them. Before the investigation is clear, you must not let them go. Han Wuxia roared. Although he was full of vigor, the handprint left on his face was indeed a little eye-catching. All of a sudden, these people started to move quickly. Li Zhongjiu, that guy, actually walked out just like that. Mu Qingyan widened his eyes. Even someone as smart as him did not know why. On the other hand, Zhao Jingxian heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Li Zhongjiu did not beat Sima Xingyan up. Chapter 435. In short, Li Zhongjiu had been completely sent away, so there was no need to worry about what would happen next. Other than Li Zhongjiu, there shouldn't be anyone else who would commit such a suicide. Not everyone had the strength and guts to do so. Li Zhongjiu and the other two walked on the road. Along the way, they could see a few special envoys who were busy. After all, a person had escaped, so this person must be the most important person. Therefore, as long as they caught this assassin, they would be able to solve this case. This was the assassin who killed Yi Lantian. Although Yi Lantian wasn't a good person, he was a very important person. Now that they knew that an important person had been killed, they naturally had to work hard. If they could catch the person who killed Yi Lantian, it would be a great merit. Boss, you're really awesome. I heard that the person called Han Wuxia seems to be the fiercest one among the special envoys. His methods are very cruel. He's a ruthless person from head to toe. I didn't expect boss to actually dare to slap him. Kuan Erishur stepped forward and said. He was full of admiration for Li Zhongjiu's actions. Don't even talk about slapping him. If he says another word, I'll take his head. Li Zhongjiu said without any trace of politeness. Long Kuan naturally didn't believe him. It was still acceptable to beat him up and scold him. Could it be that he really killed him in front of so many people? If that was the case, even if he was an alchemist bestowed by the emperor, it wouldn't be of any use. He would be arrested and sent to prison in a matter of minutes. Boss, you're awesome. Kuan Erishur flattered. Then, he carefully took out a stone from his chest and handed it to Shueyiwa as he walked. This stone was given to me by Zhao Jingxian. It's useless for a man like me to keep it. You can take it. I'll take it as a bargain for you. Shueihua looked at the heavenly fragrance drunken moonstone that Kuan Erasure handed over, and her eyes immediately widened. She couldn't believe it. Kuan Erasure spent so much money to buy it for him. Although in the end, Kuan Erasure didn't give him any money. If it wasn't for what happened later, he would have given him money. You're giving it to me? This thing is very expensive, Shueihua said. Just take it since I'm giving it to you. Don't be shy. Do you think I, Kuan Erasure, lack this bit of money? After saying that, Kuan Erasure stuffed the heavenly fragrance moonstone back into Shueiyu's hand. Then, he quickly caught up with Li Zongjio. Boss, where are we going next? Originally, he wanted to take a look at the mysterious stone tablet of the Compassionate Travel sect. But it seemed that it was impossible to restart the auction in a short period of time. Therefore, he temporarily put this matter aside. You send Shueiyu Club to the academy. I'm going to the casino, Li Zongjio said. He turned around and walked towards the direction of the Great Pleasure Casino. Kuan Erasure didn't refuse this time, but listened to Li Zongjio's words very obediently. Okay. Shueiyu held the heavenly fragrance moonstone in her hand, and there was an indescribable feeling in her heart. But she was also a little touched. Over the years, she had received many gifts, but she had never received a gift from herself. That's right, this heavenly fragrance drunken moonstone was something that Shueihua had taken out to auction. However, who would have thought that Long Kuan would cause a ruckus and directly return this item to Shueihua? Shueihua didn't know what to say about this, but it was necessary for her to be touched, because this heavenly fragrance intoxicating moonstone was truly worth 100 million purple yuan. Why are you smiling like a fool? Come on, let's go and eat. Long Kuan patted Shueihua's head. After Shueihua received the heavenly fragrance drunken moonstone, he didn't know what she was smiling about, but this silly and adorable look was really cute. Don't hit my head, a girl's head can't be hit, I won't grow tall, Shueiyu said angrily as she held her head. It's good that you're this tall. How tall do you want to be? Li Zongjio walked towards the Great Pleasure Casino on foot. The news of Yi Lantian's death had probably spread out by now. This kind of thing absolutely couldn't be hidden, and the speed at which it spread like wildfire would be very fast. When Li Zongjio arrived at the Great Pleasure Casino, it was already close to evening. Logically speaking, it should be the time for the casino to open, but unexpectedly, the doors of the Great Pleasure Casino were tightly shut. Li Zongjio directly stepped forward and kicked the door open with a bang. After kicking the door open, as soon as he walked in, more than 10 snow-white long sabers appeared in front of him, swaying nervously. At this moment, they were as if they were facing a great enemy. Who is it? Li Zongjio walked in calmly and glanced at the people around him. He said indifferently, I'm here to look for your manager, Li Zongjio said. Taifai walked out from upstairs. Standing beside Taifai was Shuejiang, who was seriously injured by Kuan Erasure last time. However, this time, Shuejiang's injuries seemed to have improved a lot, and compared to before, he also had a big breakthrough. After all, the accumulation of combat experience would naturally allow him to have a better breakthrough. It's you again, what do you want? I don't have time to play with you now. Taifai was angry. What kind of tricks were these two brats playing? They actually came to cause trouble for the Great Delight Casino time and time again. If they were really forced into a corner, it wouldn't cost much to hire an assassin from the Celestial Rain Pavilion. The last bet had been a long time ago. Originally, Taifai wanted to let it go. After all, the Yi family situation was not good recently. If something happened, and it was reported to the higher-ups, it wouldn't be good for Taifai. And today, he received a piece of news that made Taifai's jaw drop. Yi Lantian was dead. He was killed by someone. With Yi Lantian's death, the Yi family would definitely collapse. The 13 guards below must each have their own thoughts. Now that the tree fell, the monkeys scattered. They who followed behind naturally had to think of a way to protect themselves. The Great Pleasure Casino itself was a big business, so it was inevitable that enemies would come knocking. Therefore, Taifai also gathered people and at the same time, posted a notice to close the business for reorganization, telling these people that the Great Pleasure Casino would not open for business for the time being. At this moment, it was not the enemies who came, but Li Zongjio. That made Taifai even more irritated. It's fine if you two brats played some tricks and swindled some money, but now is a moment of life and death. With Yi Lantian's death, your Great Pleasure Casino will lose its backing. How long can it last? I'm here to save you. You still remember this contract, right? Li Zongjio took out the contract in his hand. This was what Kuan Erisher wanted back last time. With this, the casino's daily income would be distributed to Li Zongjio. However, as long as the Great Pleasure Casino didn't recognize this thing, it was useless for him to hold it. Even if there was a signature, they wouldn't recognize it. Chapter 436. In fact, at that time, this contract was only a delaying tactic. Although it was written clearly on the contract, it wasn't difficult for such a large casino to go back on one's word. If one wanted to protect their rights, they had to be stronger than them first. Only then would they be able to successfully protect their rights. Any rights protection department would be in cahoots with each other. There was no way one could win against them if they were in cahoots. Once the Broad Delight Casino gathered its manpower, one's life would be at stake if one came to cause trouble again. After all, 10 billion purple yuan wasn't a small amount. At this price, even if one wanted to kill a yuan monarch powerhouse, there would probably be people willing to do it. It would be more than enough to invite a yuan monarch elite to help out. However, if that was the case, such behavior would be too low for the Broad Delight Casino. As long as Li Zongjio and Xue Jianhe were a little tactful and dropped the matter after receiving a portion of the money, they wouldn't pursue the matter. Losses were losses, and they would earn them back sooner or later. However, if someone like Li Zongjio still took this contract seriously, it would be a little too tactless. Therefore, when Taifai saw Li Zongjio take out this contract, and actually boast shamelessly that he wanted to take over the Broad Delight Casino, he directly touched Taifai's bottom line. He had to make Li Zongjio stay here today. Otherwise, these young people really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Seal the door! Xue Jiang shouted. Then, he leaped and landed directly in front of Li Zongjio. Where's that kid from last time? Xue Jiang said in a low voice. It seemed like he was here to seek revenge. However, Li Zongjio also said directly, he didn't come. That kid didn't come. Yet you still dare to be so arrogant. Today, Grandpa Xue Jiang will teach you how to behave. Xue Jiang sneered and released his Blood Eagle origin spirit instantly. Following Xue Jiang's movement, he also pounced towards Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio shook his head helplessly when he saw the incoming attack. Immediately, his figure flashed and he dashed in front of Xue Jiang. He stretched out his hand and grabbed Xue Jiang's throat. Then, he raised his head and looked at Taifai, who was upstairs. I've already said that I'm here to save you today. You should be thanking me. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Zongjio sent him flying with a slap. Xue Jiang's head instantly exploded like a water ball. Seeing this scene, even Taifai was so frightened that he took a step back, his face instantly turning pale. Xue Jiang had already comprehended something after the previous battle, and was even preparing to break through recently. If he broke through to the Yuan monarch realm, killing that kid called Kuan Erisher would be a piece of cake. After all, there was a huge difference between a half-step Yuan monarch and a Yuan monarch elite. However, Xue Jiang had been able to take a few blows from Kuan Erisher previously. The two of them had been able to fight for a while before being defeated. Now facing Li Zongjio, he was actually unable to put up any resistance. In just one round, Xue Jiang's head was completely smashed. Xue Jiang was an elite who was about to break through to the Yuan monarch realm. If the sneak attack had succeeded, Xue Jiang would have been the one to make the first move. However, Xue Jiang had died right in front of his eyes. When the blood spurted out, the surrounding machete men all took a step back, because the situation in front of them was too cruel for them. Most importantly, Li Zongjio did not even bat an eyelid after killing someone. How many people did he have to kill in order to master this skill? Most importantly, Xue Jiang, who had died, was a top-notch expert. Now he had died so mysteriously. He probably did not even know that he would die here today. This was really too sudden. He casually threw the headless corpse in his hands to the ground. He had originally thought that Li Zongjio's strength would be weaker, so he had sent Kuan Erasure the previous time. However, Taifai wanted to see Kuan Erasure more. Although Kuan Erasure was also difficult to deal with, at least he would not kill people casually. Everyone was educated and could sit down and talk things out slowly. However, Li Zongjio was different. His posture was clearly saying that he could not be bothered to talk nonsense with him. As a result, Taifai, who was upstairs, also understood the purpose of Li Zongjio's visit. In an instant he also understood clearly. If he did not comply with Li Zongjio's wishes today, then he would probably start a massacre. All of you back down. Ask Mr. Li to come up. Such an important matter naturally could not be known to his subordinates. However, now these subordinates clearly knew that after this, their master would be changed. They did not know what the future situation would be like. Li Zongjio went upstairs. Originally, Li Zongjio wanted to uproot the Yi family and make all their businesses go bankrupt. If it really did not work, then he would kill everyone he saw. However, after thinking about it, this was too capricious and uncivilized. It would not benefit Li Zongjio or the Li family. On the contrary, it would cause unnecessary trouble. It was one thing to not be afraid of trouble, but it was another thing to cause unnecessary trouble. Therefore, now Li Zongjio thought of a new idea, and that was to incorporate all these businesses. When the Li family moved into the sacred Flame Royal City, it would naturally be easier. In the future, when the Li family's overall strength increased, there would be no situation that they could not control. Young Master Li, you also know that I do not have the final say in this Great Delight Casino. I am only a manager. Every month, I have to report to the Li family. I am also just someone who receives a salary. Taifai sat opposite Li Zongjio and said. At this point he also had a worried look on his face. Yi Lantian is already dead. I killed him. In the future, the profits of this Great Delight Casino will belong to you. However, I have a request. Within 3 months, acquire and merge all the other gold medal casinos. Take over all the businesses that belong to the Yi family. Li Zongjio said word by word. When he heard Li Zongjio's words, Taifai already sucked in a breath of cold air. This brat actually dared to admit that he killed Yi Lantian. Did he really not want to live anymore? Could it really be that Li Zongjio did it? Not only that, when he heard the latter part of the sentence, Taifai was even more certain that Li Zongjio was clearly a lunatic. At the beginning it was also like this. There was no other way. Ali, boss, there is one thing that you must know. Taifai said. He almost called him young Master Li again. However, after thinking about it, his identity was no longer the same. Moreover, Li Zongjio seemed to only be here to give some instructions. Wasn't this too casual? Did he really trust Taifai that much? However, Taifai knew that the Boyu Casino was his life's work. If he left the Boyu Casino, then he, Taifai, wouldn't be able to achieve anything. Now that he met Li Zongjio, Taifai had a premonition that after today, the entire Holy Yin city would be different. Moreover, he, Taifai, would also become different because of this. Since he had made such a choice, it would definitely not be wrong. What's the matter? Li Zongjio asked. The local gang, the Azure Dragon Gang, follows the Yi family's lead. In the hands of the Azure Dragon Gang, half of the casino resources in Holy Yin City are in the hands of the Azure Dragon Gang. There are also smoking houses, brothels, and restaurants. If the Yi family falls, then the Azure Dragon Gang will definitely attack. Their goal will definitely be the Yi family's property. Taifai said. The reason why they were so serious today was to prevent the Azure Dragon Gang from coming to cause trouble. However, who knew that the Azure Dragon Gang didn't come? Instead, it was Li Zongjio who came. Compared to the Azure Dragon Gang, Taifai and the others were really too weak. They only owned a casino. There was no way to compare with a gang like the Azure Dragon Gang. Therefore, the speed of acquisition and annexation was definitely slower than the Azure Dragon Gang. Sooner or later, the Azure Dragon Gang would find the Boyu Casino and take it under their banner. For such a matter, they had long been eyeing him covetously. In other words, other than the Yi Ming army, there is also this Azure Dragon gang. The Yi Ming army was the Yi family's people. On the other hand, the Azure Dragon gang was an external threat. They were also prepared to compete with Li Zhongjie. That's right. The Azure Dragon gang has deep roots and many tricks up their sleeves. They have won over many influential officials in the imperial court. Although on the surface, they are subservient to the Yi family. In reality, they are secretly plotting against the Yi family. If something happens to the Yi family, it will definitely be exposed. Taifai said. Hearing these words, Li Zhongjie nodded. All right, come with me to the Azure Dragon gang. Li Zhongjie said directly. Since the Azure Dragon gang wanted to cause trouble in front of Li Zhongjie also had the obligation to warn the Azure Dragon gang members not to cause trouble for him. If they did not listen, then they could not blame Li Zhongjie. Using peaceful means before resorting to force was the biggest concession Li Zhongjie could make. Even such a peaceful character, in Li Zhongjie's view, was simply too benevolent. According to the character of his previous life, the Azure Dragon gang did not need to exist at all. He could just destroy it with a single palm. What go to the Azure Dragon gang? Taifai did not react for a while. Li Zhongjie was too confident. Did he really think that the Azure Dragon gang was a vegetable market, where he could go as he pleased? Just as Taifai was shocked, a loud noise suddenly came from downstairs. The closed door was kicked open again. Downstairs there was also the sound of a knife. Where is Taifai? Your grandfather Wild Lion is here to find you, haha. A strong voice came, and there was a commotion downstairs. There seemed to be a lot of conflict. When he heard this voice, Taifai also sucked in a breath of cold air. His expression seemed to be extremely frightened. This person is from the Azure Dragon gang. His nickname is Wild Lion. East Hall Master, Taifai said. Chapter 438. At first, Li Zhongjie was curious as to why a group of burly men liked to call him Lion Monkey King, or something like that. Later on, he found out that it was to increase his deterrence and make people feel afraid when they heard his name. However, when Li Zhongjie came out and saw the people sitting downstairs, Li Zhongjie seemed to have found another reason. Taifai, you saw your grandfather. Why haven't you come over to invite him for tea? Kuang Shi's men moved an armchair and placed it in the middle of the road, waiting for Taifai to come over and lick his face paint. However, Kuang Shi's eyes were so sharp that he immediately saw Li Zhongjie walking in front of Taifai. Who was Taifai? The head of the Boyu Casino was definitely a well-known figure in the casino. His seniority was also the highest. Now he was following behind a teenager. How could Kuang Shi not be surprised? Li Zhongjie moved a chair and placed it in front of Kuang Shi. After sitting down, he carefully looked at Kuang Shi in front of him. Everyone from now on, this Mr. Li is the new boss of our Boyu Casino. Taifai directly said to the people around him. Kuang Shi and the others didn't know what happened, but the people present clearly saw the scene of Li Zhongjie killing Xue Jiang in one move. That scene still lingered in their minds. It was obvious that Li Zhongjie shocked them. After some negotiations, the price should be settled. Now that the boss had changed, it didn't affect them much. After all, it didn't matter who they worked for, as long as they were paid. They always recognized money, not people. However, Kuang Shi's face suddenly changed. He, Kuang Shi, came here today for the control of this casino, but now it was taken by someone else. How could he bear it? What's more, Mr. Li, he had never heard of such a person. Where did you get your hair styled? Li Zhongjie asked very sincerely. He was really curious. Who could make hair like this? It looked like it was struck by lightning. Such a creative hairstyle. Only they could come up with it. The person called Kuang Shi in front of him was not very tall. His body was also somewhat squarish. Most importantly, when one looked at his head of exploding hair, he really did look like a lion. Merely, it was a lion that had gone insane. Anyone could see that Li Zhongjie was laughing at Kuang Shi's hairstyle. If it was according to Kuang Shi's usual temper, he would have pulled out his 5-horse dismemberment blade and directly dismembered Li Zhongjie's body. He wouldn't have sat there and talked amiably with Li Zhongjiu, acting as if nothing had happened. Kwang Shi was also suppressing his violent temper at this moment. "Brat, where are you from? To be able to subdue Taifai in such a short time, there must be a certain amount of power behind him." Therefore, Kwang Shi didn't dare to act rashly. It was better to check out the details first. Originally, the Azure Dragon Gang wanted to be fast. If first impressions were the strongest, then the other forces in the city would have to be wary of the Azure Dragon Gang's reputation if they wanted to get their hands on it. However, the other party had taken the lead, so Kwang Shi couldn't help but be vigilant. The news of Yi Lantian's death had been confirmed. The entire Yi family would definitely plummet after Yi Lantian's death. Moreover, the Azure Dragon Gang had already shown signs of rebellion. Even if the Yi family had other methods, it would only be to take back these things. There wouldn't be any other problems. In order to ensure that the Boyu Casino would fall into their hands, they directly sent Kwang Shi, the hall master of the East Hall, over. This was enough to show the importance of the Boyu Casino. In any case, it was still a gold medal casino. A casino like this was a gold-plated signboard. "You want to test my background? Let me hear you call me father first." Li Zhongjiu instantly laughed. When it came to playing these games, he had already played them thousands of years ago. When these words came out, the expressions of the people behind Kwang Shi immediately changed. They looked at Li Zhongjiu in disbelief. Wasn't he too bold? Didn't this person know who he was? He actually dared to step on Kwang Shi's head and behave so atrociously. He would probably kneel down and call him father in the next second. Kwang Shi's eyes instantly widened in anger, but he didn't act rashly. Instead, he glanced at Taifai, who was standing behind Li Zhongjiu. He realized that Taifai's face didn't show the slightest bit of surprise. It seemed that according to that kid's character, he would definitely do such a thing. This caused Kwang Shi's tightly clenched fist to loosen temporarily. "Little brother, you're not in our gang, right? I advise you not to get involved in this mess. The Azure Dragon Gang isn't something you can provoke." Kwang Shi sneered. "I've never heard of the Azure Dragon Gang, but I'm quite interested in the Azure Insect Gang." Li Zhongjiu said indifferently. Before he spoke, he didn't put the Azure Dragon Gang in his eyes at all. Why should he put them in his eyes? How many people had Li Zhongjiu killed? Meng Yu from the Qingyuan villa, and the one who was sent to be the city lord. That one was too far away. The few people he killed recently were all well-known figures. Yi Lantian also died at the hands of Li Zhongjiu. "You're courting death. How dare you insult the Azure Dragon Gang? Chop him to death!" Kwang Shi shouted. The people behind him couldn't hold back the long swords in their hands. They all slashed towards Li Zhongjiu. The people of Boyu Casino didn't move. Although the boss had changed, Taifai hadn't said anything. They wouldn't be so stupid as to directly rush up. After all, the one who paid them was Taifai, not Li Zhongjiu. Therefore, without Taifai's order, the rest of the people also didn't move. Taifai also didn't have the slightest indication. If he wanted to acquire the other casinos, he had to go through the Azure Dragon Gang. If he couldn't even deal with Kwang Shi, then Taifai would rather die now. Otherwise, if he went against the Azure Dragon Gang in the future, his end would be incomparably miserable. Li Zhongjiu didn't stay idle. Nearly 10 experts from the other side rushed up. With a thought, they immediately controlled their swords and then slashed their own necks. Swish, gulp, gulp, gulp. Before the dozen or so people could even reach them, they already saw 10 heads rolling on the ground one after another. A few heads rolled directly to Kwang Shi's feet. One of them even stared at Kwang Shi with his eyes wide open. It was obvious that he had encountered something extremely shocking before he died. Chapter 439. Kwang Shi immediately jumped up from his armchair in fright. Not only Kwang Shi, but even Taifai, who was behind him, widened his eyes and sucked in a breath of cold air. His pupils constricted as he sucked in a breath of cold air. Kwang Shi had been able to get to the position of Hall Master in the Azure Dragon Gang because he had experienced many big scenes. He had seen and even participated in the fight between hundreds of people. There were countless scenes of a person holding a saber and fighting a bloody battle in the heavy rain. Just the scars on his body alone were too many to count. Such a ruthless person was truly frightened by the strange scene in front of him at this moment. It wasn't that he hadn't seen powerhouses who were proficient in mind power before. The Azure Dragon Gang had them as well, but they definitely couldn't reach such a level. How could someone control 10 people and use the knives in their hands to chop off their own heads in an instant? This was even more unbelievable. Furthermore, these 10 people had been carefully selected by Kuang Shi. They were all famous fighters that Dong Tangtang had mentioned. Each of them had mental strength and weren't weak either. They were all at the Origin General Realm. Origin Ancestor Realm powerhouses were in the minority. Kuang Shi was an Origin Ancestor Realm powerhouse. Most of the top powerhouses were under the Gang Master. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to control so many people and hold down so many places. However, this time Kuang Shi was really afraid. From the first time he saw this young man, he felt a little strange. He had a feeling that Li Zhongjiu shouldn't have appeared in such a place. Indeed, this young man's strength was absolutely terrifying. It seemed like Taifai had already found a backer, which was why he had done this. Otherwise, such a situation wouldn't have happened. Yi Lantian had just died, and his energy had been taken over by someone else. There weren't many people who could go against the Azure Dragon Gang. After he went back and reported, he would let the gang master make a decision. Since you're from the Azure Dragon Gang, then go back and tell the gang leader of the Azure Dragon Gang that the Great Joy Casino is under my protection. In addition, I want all the other casinos in the city, Li Zhongjiu said to Mad Lion, and pointed at the 10 heads on the ground. And these things, take them all back. Don't dirty my territory. He brought his men here, but in the end, they were killed by the other party. Now he even had to bring a message back. This was simply a great humiliation. However, Mad Lion didn't have the confidence to fight with the person in front of him. Duel with Li Zhongjiu. With the battle in front of him, he was definitely not confident. If he forced himself to fight, he might not even be able to walk out in the end. He could see that it wasn't that the other party didn't dare to kill him, or that they were afraid of his reputation. They just needed someone to pass on the message. That was why they spared his life and allowed him to move freely. Wild Lion had even forgotten how he had managed to get out. For him, this day was like living in hell. The moment he walked out of the Great Delight Casino, Mad Lion felt as if he had just escaped from hell. He breathed a sigh of relief. Yes, it was too terrifying. He didn't want to come to this casino a second time. There were some subordinates waiting for him in the distance. Mad Lion hurriedly threw the head in his hand to his subordinate. Of course, he put it in a sack. Hall Master, what do you think? Do you want to kill your way in? Kill your ass. Retreat for this, daddy. Mad Lion directly slapped his subordinate's face, causing him to spin 2 rounds on the spot. Then, Mad Lion ran back to his hall in a panic. The Azure Dragon Gang also had a proper sect outside. To the outside world, it was called the Azure Dragon Gate. It was a sect that specialized in education and strengthening the body. However, in reality, it was doing some shady business in the dark. Mad Lion ran all the way back. After that, Li Zhongjiu said to Taifai, I will take care of the Azure Dragon Gang. As for the rest, I will let you do it. If you don't do it well, I will kill you and replace you with someone else. After saying that, Li Zhongjiu directly left. If Tai Feihe was a smart person, then he would naturally know how to deal with Li Zhongjiu. Although Li Zhongjiu seemed to be alone right now, the origin of the brat from last time was not simple at all. Therefore, there must be someone behind these 2 young people. In such a struggle, one naturally had to make a good choice. Li Zhongjiu did not care how Taifai chose. If this Taifai could not do what Li Zhongjiu asked him to do, then there was no need to keep him. He could just kill him. It would not be difficult for Li Zhongjiu to find another capable person to replace him. In Royal City, there were too many vicious and merciless people who had long been prepared to go on a killing spree, but had yet to get the chance. Li Zhongjiu first returned to the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. He borrowed a few books from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. With Li Zhongjiu's current status and contribution, There was no need for him to study in the academy, because even if the vice principal of the academy came, there was nothing to teach him. Even if Ling Yan saw it, he wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Moreover, Ling Yan didn't intend to impart knowledge to them. With their talent, it wouldn't take long for them to become influential figures in the academy. Therefore, Ling Yan also went to prepare for his own matters. He spent more time on his own matters. On the other hand, Yang Xuelin had come looking for Li Zongjie several times. Li Zongjie didn't know why, but he didn't see her. Lan Kuan and Xueyue were probably doing something shameful. If Kuan Erisher and Xueyue are together, they should be a perfect match. Li Zongjie thought in his heart. In his opinion, if Kuan Erisher liked Xueyue, then he, Li Zongjie, as his big brother, would fight for him no matter what. Not fight but definitely succeed. He went back to his own manor. The meat shop sent meat to him every day, so that he would not starve to death. During the day, he and the Howling Moon Wolf King would lie on the ground and sleep. At night, they would lie on the ground and cultivate. Occasionally, they would change their posture. The night gradually darkened, and the entire city was under martial law. The people in the joyous heavenly restaurant were released one by one when the sky turned dark. After all, such a big matter could not be easily let go. Even Song Jiyu had a hard time getting out of it. That guy is really powerful. Song Jiyu gritted her teeth when she thought of Li Zongjie. She actually misjudged him. Chapter 440. Fortunately, Song Jiyu had a good relationship with Li Zongjie's family. She had gifted Li Zongjie the expensive thunderous short arrow back then. She should be able to leave a good impression on him. Since Li Zongjie was so capable, she had to win him over. Li Zongjie's reputation had yet to spread throughout the city. If the entire Sacred Flame Royal City knew about Li Zongjie's strength and reputation, it would be more difficult to rope in Li Zongjie or do other things. Song Jiyu was a businesswoman. Anyone who could bring her benefits was a friend. Although Song Jiyu was unhappy, the reason why she was unhappy was because she had misjudged Li Zongjie. Li Zongjie had caused her to make a mistake. It was still her own self-esteem that caused trouble. But soon, Song Jiyu thought about what kind of value she could find from Li Zongjie. Is there anyone who can recommend the Raging Dragon Capturing Flames? The Raging Dragon Capturing Flames was the newest Yuan weapon of the 7-star fire room. Every Yuan weapon that came out needed to be promoted vigorously. Only then would people believe in the power of the Raging Dragon Capturing Flames, and know that it was such a powerful Yuan weapon. Although there were special counters in the Sacred Flame Royal City that would display these items, there was still a need to promote the Yuan weapon. However, Song Jiyu wanted to sell the Raging Dragon Capturing Flames to all parts of the country. Only then would she be able to earn more money. Therefore, she would often invite some famous people to promote and endorse the Raging Dragon Capturing Flames. Many people had only heard of this origin tool, but on that day, they suddenly heard that some famous person was praising the new origin tool produced by the 7-star fire workshop. He even strongly recommended it. Then, the popularity of the 7-star fire workshop suddenly increased. This was the so-called celebrity effect. If the current Emperor Shengyan praised something, then there was no need to waste time thinking about it. They could just wait for it to be sold out. Miss, the person who promoted the Raging Dragon Capturing Flames, is currently the owner of Fengshang Pavilion. How much is the owner of Fengshang Pavilion? 80 million purple yuan. His skin is really thick. If it was 2 years ago, the 80 million yuan would have been worth it. But now it's not worth it. Prepare a document for me. Just say that I've made my choice this time. Song Jiyu said immediately. Fengshang Pavilion was a quiet place to drink wine. Quite a number of influential people would choose to come to Fengshang Pavilion to have a drink after struggling in this materialistic society. The owner of the Fengshang Pavilion was also a famous beauty. She was proficient in zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Many influential people wanted to get close to her. However, the owner of the Fengshang Pavilion was also extremely noble and self-righteous. It was because of her reputation as a beauty that the owner of the Fengshan Pavilion collected a lot of wealth. Even some of the previous Yuan tools were promoted by her. The effect could only be said to be average. But miss, the price for the pavilion master of Fengshan Pavilion has already been negotiated. The specific matters have also been discussed and settled. All that's left is to sign the contract. Clearly, not all of the matters had been negotiated. If she directly said that she did not want to sign the contract, not only would she have to show sufficient persuasion to the management of the 7-star fire room, she would also have to withstand the pressure from the pavilion master of Fengshan Pavilion. Don't worry, I'll take care of the rest, Song Jiyu said. As the eldest daughter of the Song clan, her words naturally carried a lot of weight. The maid could only obey. Although she was called a maid, she was actually a capable assistant. Many matters were handled by this assistant. Li Zhongjio's manor. Li Zhongjio waited in the manor until the sky turned dark. Currently, the special envoys in the city were extremely nervous. They were patrolling everywhere, looking for suspicious people on the streets. At the same time, they were checking if there were any suspicious people staying in the inns. Late at night, the Howling Moon Wolf King, who was lying in the courtyard, suddenly raised his head. It seemed to have discovered something. A figure could be seen jumping directly into the courtyard. When he turned around and saw the Howling Moon Wolf King raising its head, he gestured for the Howling Moon Wolf King to keep quiet. Then, he quickly tossed out a fragrant chicken drumstick from his storage ring. This made the Howling Moon Wolf King, who was lying on the ground, quickly get up. It was obviously very excited. It immediately chased in the direction of the chicken drumstick, wagging its tail as it ate happily. It had completely forgotten all of Li Zhongjio's instructions. Good lad. I, Shadow Fox, have been in the Jianghu for so many years, and have never suffered a loss. Today I've suffered a great loss. If I didn't run fast enough, I would have been caught by those annoying guys. Shadow Fox said. The figure that descended was Yinghu. Yinghu was the one who witnessed Li Zhongjio's actions. He didn't expect that Li Zhongjio would frame him. This made Yinghu very unhappy, so he hid outside for a day. Finally, he found an opportunity to smear Li Zhongjio's name. As a top assassin, it was natural for him to know all the information about his target in advance. Therefore, he was naturally aware that Li Zhongjio owned a manor in the city. When he arrived and saw the grandeur of the manor, Yinghu felt a little indignant. Yinghu had worked hard and struggled for half his life. However, he still could not afford to buy a manor in Monarch City. This was mainly because he spent too much money on eating and drinking. Therefore, his pockets were empty. However, now that he had accepted this job, he could not help but feel relieved. Although Yi Lantian was already dead, the money had already been paid, and he had already received half of the commission. The remaining half was still in the Rain Pavilion. Only after the Heavenly Rain Pavilion confirmed that he had completed the mission would they give him the rest of the commission. Therefore, not only did he want to take revenge for what happened during the day, but he also wanted to kill Li Zhongjio and take the rest of the commission. After I kill you and exchange your head for money, I will buy a manor too, Yinghu thought to himself. He had been in the Jianghu for too long. He needed a home after all. Otherwise, he would not have a fixed place to stay. In fact, he was the only one who knew the bitterness in his heart. Let's not talk about this anymore. The reason why Yinghu chose to attack at night was because his technique could be more perfect at night. Li Zhongjio died. Just as Yinghu was about to charge in, he felt something tugging at his trousers. Whoosh! You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.